be polite to you, and then talk about the reasons. And like you said, you agree all of the reasons are correct. They're all ironclad, right? These are the arguments that do win people over. They are the effective ones. Is if you just go down like root logic, very deductive.
That's because I didn't turn on my audio mixer. Thanks for telling me.
Dumbass motherfucker.
Yep. See, we're starting off so bad, right?
Yeah, as always, because that's what we do here. Hang on, I'm trying to just fix something real quick. Where the fuck? I don't like this background. Here we go. I don't like that either. I might just do that. Yeah.
Look at that.
Okay, so we're just kind of dicking around tonight. I'm gonna start the show as normal, just kind of do some introduction. I'm gonna bring you on, let you shout yourself out, introduce yourself and whatnot, and then we'll talk about what kind of issues that you're interested in, just for the chat and whatnot. I'm gonna drop the link in the chat so that anybody can call in and ambush you, talk shit, debate you.
I love the ambushing. I'm gonna take a preemptive shot just so I can deal with some of the brain rot, because I have a strong feeling that Synth is going to jump in, because they were in my chat earlier talking about veganism, and I think I would rather fucking kill myself on stream in a video game. Sorry, I'm already live. Than talk about veganism. So, L'chaim.
How do I turn off my background on this? I don't want my... No, I want my green screen off.
I'm not gonna lie, I never felt like dealing with the pain of all the fucking green screen applications, or like I have a whole ass green screen. Hard, but, yeah. It's just like I feel like there's only one person who I've seen do green screen on stream really, really effectively, and that's Rhizome. His fucking set is fucking god tier, but everybody else, it just looks like a fucking like toddler like learned how to click 3 buttons and turn on the little green screen application in the background.
That's what mine is.
Yours actually, you're at least you have like a flat background where like you can it looks solid.
If I were to do it, I would probably like go more like away from the. Actually, no, I guess the corner doesn't matter, or whatever. I don't know, but. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna drop us both back. I'm gonna do just like a normal intro, and then we're gonna get it going.
Gotcha.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crucible. I am your host for the night, Zen Shapiro, formerly the in-house right-wing debater, promoted to the co-host, which has a nice ring to it. I know you all agree. Welcome back to the Crucible. Thank you all for tuning in. We're going to be doing a little bit of a different stream tonight than what we're used to. We had a few debates lined up, and there was just some reschedules, and some fell through altogether. But we're kind of making do with what we have. We're going to do something different, like I said, that you haven't seen before. We might have done a few of these in the past, but it's going to be a Sondsol versus the world stream, where if you can't read, if you haven't read the description, you'll see that anybody's going to be welcome to pop on and beat up on Sondsol, talk shit to him, debate him, do what you got to do to, or maybe just take the edge off, make fun of him. All of that is encouraged. But before we get into the show, I do want to do all the YouTube shit, all the shilling. Please like, share, subscribe. It helps us out in the algorithm. Helps us spread our message and our reach. You can support the channel by sending in super chats either via YouTube or the Dono chat link, which I have pinned in the top of the live chat. We do prefer Dono chat because it takes a little bit less of a cut, and we like that around here. As if that goes without being said. Also, the best way to support the channel is actually to become a member. So please consider hitting the join button either in the live chat or on the main channel page. That's the best way to support us. Like I said, you'll get exclusive perks like emojis, which we've actually rolled out a lot of new ones recently, and we're going to continue to do that. There's going to be members-only content coming out. There's going to be a lot of good shit for the members. Those of you that are already members know what that's like, and those of you that are not members yet, hit the fucking join button. We love to have new members join. We love having people support the channel to keep the content coming. So all the shillings out of the way. That being said, those of you that may not know, we lost our in-house right-wing debater slot, and we haven't replaced it yet. I'm just the co-host. We haven't replaced me. So what we've done in the meantime is we've actually brought on our very own in-house degenerate, Sondsol. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the show. Shout yourself out. Tell everybody all about you, where they can find you.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Sondsol. I like to talk about different things, philosophy, politics. I'm mostly known for how bad I am at gaming. So if you like to see someone be just absolutely terrible at From Software games, then my stream is the place for you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. We kind of slapped this together somewhat on short notice, but we appreciate you coming in here. Those of you that don't know how this works, we're going to have this be an open panel. Anybody is welcome to pop on. I'm actually going to be dropping the link in the live chat periodically, which I just did. So if you click that link, you can pop onto the stream, debate Sondsol on whatever topic you want. There's really no holds barred. The only rules are you got to do interesting topics. Insults, ad homs are encouraged as long as they're directed at Sondsol. Dogpiling is encouraged. Being bad faith is all encouraged as long as it's directed at Sondsol. And Sondsol,
you too much of a fucking coward to have people hurl insults at you? Is that something that's going on here?
That's the other rule. Nobody's allowed to insult me, and Sondsol is not allowed to insult anybody else. All negativity.
Oh, okay, hold on. I didn't know I was coming in here with fucking shackles with a fucking iron ball on my fucking ankle, okay?
That's the way, Sondsol, this is the Crucible. This is how we do things around here. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to try to keep it somewhat structured as much as I can, but we're kind of just going to let it flow how people see fit. But I think a good way to just start it off, and maybe I'll even engage with you a little bit, but just tell everybody like what specific issues that you're interested in, what you deem most valuable or important, what's pertinent to the modern, the modern day and culture, society, politics, that kind of thing.
Sure. So I initially got into streaming. I started off as a socialist. I've moved off of that position. I'm more of a left-leaning centrist. I guess if you're talking about like the Overton window of the fucking internet, then I'm going to be like a left-leaning centrist. If you talk to me in real life, like an everyday fucking person, most people would consider me pretty far left. But when it comes to like economics and stuff, I want to do whatever is the best for the greatest amount of people, the things that are going to give us the greatest economic outputs so that we can, have a generally better quality of life. I support, LGBT stuff. Systemic racism is something that I've talked about a whole bunch. I might surprise you if you think that I'm just going to come up here and defend literally every single like crazy thing that the fucking Twitter lefties say. So if you think that that's something that's going to happen, then you're going to be disappointed. I felt a little bit disconnected from the news cycle recently because it feels like on the left side, and this actually got me banned from fucking Twitch. People are like really focused on super niche topics, like trans genocide, which is the topic that got me banned off of Twitch. I don't think that there's a genocide of trans people going on. On the right, it feels like everything is like mostly conspiratorial with like a grain of truth at the very bottom of it that is worth talking about. So I really haven't like paid too much attention until the past couple of days. I've done a lot of reading and articles and seeing what people are talking about. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what people bring to a discussion today.
I think I'll open that up. So, and just to sum up the TLDR for those of you that didn't want to listen to this filthy degen, he's basically a left-wing coomer that just wants everybody to be maximally pleasured and happy and get all the dopamine juice that they can, just to keep everyone pacified and getting along. No, I'm just kidding. But so just to understand, basically he's going to be taking like very either solid or far left-wing positions on the general issues of today. So I know we are a right-wing channel. We do keep it neutral in terms of moderation, but I'm sure that there's a lot of audience members that are chomping at the bit to get at those issues. We do have somebody in the background, but I'm gonna I did want to ask you one thing. When you said people on the right are mostly conspiratorial with a grain of truth at the bottom or whatever, or like
specifically on like the big topics right now. I don't think like all. Yeah. So like I feel like there's like the like common topics of like election denial and shit like that that people talk about, and like that's I haven't really like engaged with very many people on that just because like will show me the fucking evidence and then I'll fucking talk about it, right? But up to this point there really hasn't been any like concrete evidence on that. But like that aside, like the things that are like happening right now, especially like in very recent like in the past like couple of weeks, this has been like huge topics, like the LGBT like groomer stuff, and like in education they're like teaching our kids to be trans and shit like that. I've had a couple of discussions over that, and it feels like the people that sound the most intelligent on that do bring up real things that happened in academia, right? Like the founders of like critical race theory and critical theory, and like the cultural Marxism movement from like the 50s and 60s. They'll bring up shit that happened then, but they're not actually talking about stuff that's happening now, right?
But you would agree that like in terms of like the LGBT stuff, like without using the G word, you would agree that there is some incentive to teach younger people and maybe make it more tolerable in schools and whatnot, to kind of expand the ideology and make it more normal to be some brand of LGBT where it was taboo even 15 years ago. You do agree that there's some incentive there to normalize it, right?
Yeah, I guess like normalize it in the sense that we don't want people to act bigoted or like shitty to each other, like be nice to people, golden rule type shit. But outside of that, I don't really see anything. Nobody's really ever presented to me any evidence that there's like anything more nefarious than people talking about like the golden rule type. Like, oh, well, there are people that are trans, or there are people that are gay or lesbian or whatever the fuck, and those people deserve just as respect as anybody else. That's the sort of stuff that I see happening in schools, right? Like I've worked in education before. I'm doing substitute teaching now while I'm getting experience to become a full-fledged teacher. This is the
Sonsol's going to be a teacher.
Yeah, I'm going to be an excellent teacher. Okay,
we're doomed.
But yeah, like I look at the stuff that I look at the stuff that's being talked about in schools, and I look at the stuff that people link to me online, and I never see like this like weird like, okay, well, we're gonna start teaching everybody about like critical race theory. We're gonna like make sure that everybody's like separated out by race, and like outside of like a few like really like cringe examples of like either individual teachers or like a private school that it's not even part of like a broader like school system, but like a private school that implements like one like really like cringe or stupid policy. I'm not seeing this being taught to children en masse all over the country.
Well,
in this, like,
I think there's just like this inherent, like the underlying philosophy of the public education system is inherently secular, and I would even say that in Catholic schools. It's a very secular curriculum, very secular models of teaching.
How do you mean in Catholic schools it's secular? Don't they have like chapel and stuff like that?
Yeah, but I don't think I guess
they have entire classes that are like focusing on religion.
I would only be speaking anecdotally with what I'm about to say, but from everyone that I've ever heard of that's attended Catholic school, never took the chapel seriously, never took the biblical classes seriously at all, the Sunday schools and whatnot. Like it was almost like just going through the motions. They were forced to be there because their parents put them there, that kind of thing. But
sounds like kids.
Seriously, even outside of the Catholic schools and just your general public education, the philosophy when they're teaching sex ed to younger, I think they start them in like 4th, 5th grade, middle school, things like that. They teach sex ed. They teach everything based on like these evolutionary models of reality. Basically, it's everything that would go against a Christian worldview. They teach democracy like in mass. And these are things that historically speaking weren't prominent, weren't popular, and people mostly just taught their own kids how to live and raise them based on their philosophy, what they thought was right, which I would still advocate to do. But I guess what I'm saying is like the more secularized it gets, the more taboo things become normalized. There's really no end point in sight to this LGBT stuff. And like I said, it seems like the main incentive you would have is to normalize it to the most amount of young, impressionable minds that you can, to the point where you don't even necessarily need to deny the nefarious act in 10 years because it's become accepted in society today. That's kind of what I'm getting at with the whole G word, groomers in schools and whatnot. Like, I'm not saying they're just outright doing it. I think it's more subtle, and I think it's just done through like this secular model of teaching. That's what.
So
I think.
Let me just see if I can like understand your point. So you're saying that there's like essentially like a long con type thing where they're like teaching a secular way of life instead of a religious way of life. And therefore in like 10, 15, 20 years, we're going to see more people like become pedophiles or something. I don't
necessarily think it's that they're all going to become pedophiles. I think it's that the behavior is going to become more normalized to where we're not even going to be calling them pedophiles anymore. We're going to be calling, I don't know what we would be calling them. But
I would think if like the new behavior is that we're not calling LGBT people pedophiles.
I'm not saying
I think that's probably an acceptable level.
I'm not saying I won't. I'm saying that you won't, because you're going to think it's just completely normal to teach kids that transgender surgery is something that you can attain and become a woman when you're an adult.
Like, is it not the fact of the world that you can get like transgender surgeries?
Yeah, and I'm okay. 15 years ago, that was completely unheard of. 10 years ago, that was unheard of.
Okay.
So now that it's become normalized, kids literally think that it's normal to be a young boy trapped in a girl's body or something, and that you can actually fix that through surgeries because they're taught that in schools these days.
Well, I mean,
they're taught that gender is
there's like two different ways. Like, there's two different things that I'm getting out of this. Like, there's like the like descriptive side. Like, yes, people can like literally change their bodies to like match up with whatever is going on mentally, right? Gender dysphoria is something that people have talked about for quite a while medically, right? They've seen, like, it seems up to this point that the scientific evidence has shown that these surgeries and the hormones, they tend to reduce the, negative feelings towards oneself that is associated with dysphoria. So, there's the descriptive side of that. But if you're trying to say like the prescriptive side, where you don't think that anyone should even know about that, well, then I would ask you, like, why should we reduce the amount of information that people receive?
Because the information's bullshit. That's what I'm saying. And I don't want to spend too much time on this because we do have somebody in the background, but I'm saying this is what
I'm cool with whatever, but yeah.
This is what I'm saying. I'm saying the information is bullshit in that you can't actually map your body onto your internal mental state, assuming that it's wrong in the first place via some surgery or via some treatment that entails like gender affirming care. Like, we can give you these hormones, we can give you this surgery, we can give you this whatever. Any treatment other than any treatment in the Christian worldview that I hold to is going to be that any treatment other than you were born a male and you cannot change that. And a boy, a man, a guy, a dude, like these are just words to describe males in different points of their life. And there's no changing the idea, the ontological reality of what a man is or what a woman is So to say that,
well, they're not changing what a man is and what a woman is. They're changing their body to change themselves into what a woman is, or into what a man is.
10 or 15 years ago, nobody ever thought that the concept of man was fluid.
Okay.
So they are changing what a man is.
When you say like they didn't think that the concept of man was fluid 15 years ago, are you saying that like there were like nobody thought at all that there were like different kinds of men out there?
Nobody thought that men could be women. That's what I mean.
Okay. Sorry. There's like, I'm honestly not trying to like fuck with you. There are just like 5 million different things that people use those same words to mean. So I'm trying to make sure I understand what you mean. So you're talking about like changing like your gender like in totality. Not like the gender expression of what a man could be. Like you could either look like a hair metal guy with like fucking spandex on and people still see you as a man versus like a guy that looks like a lumberjack. Exactly. That's not what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm saying that the gender fluid concept of male and man are distinct words that mean distinct things. Male is in reference to your sexual characteristics. Man is in reference to your gender characteristics. And, sex characteristics are just scientific and real. Gender is more social and fluid and an abstract concept. That was not a thing up until 10, 15 years ago. And I see that as changing the definition and the idea of what it means to be a man.
So I think that number one, the separation of sex and gender has been around for longer than 10 to 15 years. Now in like common, like
it hasn't.
In common parlance,
at least not in the mainstream.
Yeah, not in the mainstream. Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, and I would agree with you. It's not been in the mainstream, but I guess like for me, when I think about this, like I don't really care if someone were to like go through and if they get like diagnosed with gender dysphoria, if they they talk to doctors, they talk to psychologists, they like, okay, yeah, we're diagnosing you with this, like it's like beyond a shadow of a doubt in our mind, this is what you have. We're gonna go to the next step, which would be to talk to some sort of like plastic surgeon or whatever fucking doctor goes through and like does all those surgeries. If they start saying that, we're going to approve you for this, or we're going to approve you for hormones, I think that like in any other situation and with any other like mental disease, physical disease, we wouldn't want like either society or the government to step in and tell you like, hey, actually, no, we don't believe in that thing. So like, we're not going to let you get the healthcare that you deserve, or we're not going to like allow this information to be out there for people who might be diagnosed with gender dysphoria or with schizophrenia or with lung cancer or with whatever. So
right? Hang on. Let me close it off.
Sure. Go ahead.
I'm not saying we don't want anybody to get the healthcare that they need. I'm saying that we don't believe that the healthcare you're prescribing is, the healthcare methods that you're prescribing are legitimate, or that they actually are healthcare. I think you're co-opting the word healthcare on that. We have a fundamental disagreement.
There's no co-opting of the word healthcare. Okay, like you go into there's a doctor and they are like prescribing something, or there's like they're pulling out scalpels and syringes and shit. That's healthcare. Okay.
Well, we'll leave it there. Maybe we'll come back to it if there's dry spells there. I'm going to bring our first caller on. Before I do, I want to remind everybody, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to drop the StreamYard link in the chat again. I'm going to try to do that periodically. I was a little bit distracted there, but anybody's welcome to come on, debate Sondsol on whatever topics you want. He's just your run-of-the-mill, neoliberal, left-wing on every single issue pretty much, at least moderately. And also, if you want to send super chats in, if you've got questions, or if you want to insult Sondsol, those are highly and strongly encouraged. We don't want the blank super chats tonight. We want the insult Sondsol, dogpile, be bad faith to Sondsol super chats tonight. Also, consider becoming a channel member. Best way to support us. And we appreciate everybody who's already one. We're going to keep the content coming. First caller, we've got Soprano State. How's it going, man?
Hey, Zen, thanks for letting me on. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Perfect.
Go ahead whenever you're ready.
I'm not here to quote unquote shit on Sondsol or whatever. I actually have a legitimate question, somewhat of a continuation. I think that we had a disagreement on something, and I just want a little bit of clarity on it. We had a conversation kind of about what is appropriate from a moral standpoint in terms of being friends or friendly with people on the far right. And if I understand your position correctly, and granted, this was a few months ago we had this talk, you basically said that you think that it's morally wrong to be friends or friendly with people on the far right. By that I mean further than the Crucible and its fans. And first of all, I'm wondering if you stand by that, and if you do, if you could justify that position.
I don't, I don't remember having a discussion where I said that it's not okay to be friends with people that are like far right. This is like the position that I would take. I feel like generally I like to surround myself with people that reflect the same values as me, that care about the same things as me. Even if we have like different approaches to getting to that different place, like I would consider Andrew Wilson a friend, right? But we fundamentally, I think that we care about the same sorts of things. Like we want people to have good quality lives, right? We have very, very different ways of getting there, right? I think that we want everyone to have like, we want people to have the opportunity to be economically prosperous. So we want to, do that in different ways. So I think that that's fine. When you start getting into like people who have like hateful ideologies, who like literally like want to exterminate some other fucking group of people, I think it gets like harder to maintain those kinds of friendships for me. But I don't think that I would ever say like you literally can't be friends with those people. For example, like I have a friend, maybe there's someone that I talk to who is a pretty far right, like Groyper kind of guy. He's not like a Fuentes stan anymore, from what I understand, but he talks about like the Jewish media and all that shit and all the crazy stuff.
Do you find it? Well, do you? I think what he wants to know is like, do you find it acceptable for somebody to be friends? And maybe even give a platform to a Fuentes adjacent or I don't know, like the actual white nationalist adjacents, like the Mike Enochs of the world or the Richard Spencer adjacents of the world. Like, do you deem that to be acceptable, permissible, or should somebody avoid that from your?
I think that they should probably fucking avoid it, because I don't think that those people are good people, right? I think that you should try it again. I don't know if I can morally condemn someone for being friends with someone, but I think that in general, what you ought to do is surround yourself with people that have similar values to you. Not that they have to like 100% agree with you, just that they have, like I like to surround myself with people that like have a baseline, like positive, like future outlook, right? Like they want a better future for people, right? Whereas like if a Mike Enoch or a Nick Fuentes, I couldn't be friends with those kinds of people because they fundamentally have a very dark future outlook for certain groups of people in order to like bring other people up,
So one of the issues I think I have is there's a lot of people, because I'm from Destiny's community. I'm a DGG or Loud and Proud, and Andrew and everybody at the Crucible knows that. And I love the Crucible, even though I disagree with them on many of these political issues. I agree with you. I think Andrew's a really great guy. I think Rachel is great too, and I think Zen's pretty cool too. He likes to troll me on Twitter sometimes, but that's fun,
Wait. Who are you on Twitter?
Same name, Soprano State.
Oh, okay.
So I did, Zen, just for clarity, the other day, actually like a week before Thanksgiving, I said something along the lines of Andrew Wilson and Rob Noir are the most based people.
Oh yeah. I know. Okay.
And then and you were cool though. You were obviously joking because you wished me a happy Thanksgiving. Also, yeah. I know it's all fun and games. Like we don't take it personally because that's not what we do. But one of the reasons why I bring it back to the question I asked Sondsol is it's almost related in a way to the problem that we have, people that I'm left but moderate. I think you're relatively moderate, Sondsol. We have people ostensibly on our side that have literally tried to cancel Destiny, you, Stardust, and other people that Sondsol, you and I more or less agree with, not coming from far right people, but coming from people on the far left. And I find this deeply concerning because on paper, these are people that we're supposed to be on the same page. Yet almost all the time when you get shit, when Star does and Destiny gets canceled or banned or something like that, it's from pressure from people that are supposed to be on our side, which I think is a real problem. And Stardust, as I'm sure you know, you're friendly with her. People are giving her all kinds of trouble on the left for platforming and interviewing Spencer again. I thought that interview she conducted with him was perfect. It's an interview. It's not a debate. You don't have to push back on every little thing. So the idea of not just friendship, you mentioned platforming, Sondsol. Don't you think that we need to calm it down and reel it back in with the radicals on our side when it comes to that, and say it's okay to talk to people that we massively disagree with?
Yeah, 100%. I do think that. I do think that one of the biggest problems with people on the left, I don't think that moderates are as bad about this. People that either you or I would be like most closely aligned with, but people who are like further left than that, especially like the like online lefty sphere of things, are very, very ideologically driven and very like puritanical in the way that they go about things. So any deviation from their ideology, which there are like 5 million different kinds of lefty ideology, so that's why the left is always in a like a circular firing squad formation, you know. So yeah, I would say that like that does need to be reeled in. If you're not able to engage with other people that you disagree with in a way that doesn't involve deplatforming them, or in some cases they would just like literally advocate just killing you because you know you're part of the bourgeois class, or you're a fascist collaborator or some shit like that. Obviously, that shit needs to be reeled in, and those people need to like go and crawl back into the fucking basements that they've been you know, hiding in for the past, you know, 20, 30 years.
Oh yeah, no, okay. So yeah, I do agree. When it comes to platform, I think we're in 100% agreement. But I think that one of the reasons why I became such a fan of the Crucible, and I became, you know, friendly with Andrew and Rachel, is because they don't. There's a lot of like they. I can say. They're not trying to cancel people is my point. And
Yeah.
that even though we have massive disagreements with them, and we see that our worldview is fundamentally different from them, like I think that they're at least able to have the conversation, not afraid to have the conversation, not trying to cancel people. And there's something very refreshing about hanging out in this community. It's because they're coming at it from a very different way. And you know, I talk about how great the Crucible is in public, probably more often than half of their right.
We appreciate that. We try to remain a neutral platform, and I stand by it. Like, obviously I'm biased because I'm part of it, but I think we provide the best political debate content on the internet, especially in terms of moderation. And we try to be as engaging as we possibly can, both with the debaters and with the audience. And we try to give everyone a platform to speak their voice and speak their mind. And if you're good at it, you're gonna come back and you're gonna do well. You're gonna have you're gonna develop a following, especially when you've got neutral moderation and a neutral audience, or at least a fair audience, which you're gonna get at the Crucible. All right, but you got anything else here, Soprano State? We got a few in the background. We're gonna try to bring some more callers on.
No, the only other thing I wanted, and I appreciate your time, Zen, and Sondsol. And Sondsol, I appreciate you doing this. It's always good content. Zen, it would probably be a really good idea for either you or Rachel or Andrew to have some sort of thing, a little bit like this, where people can kind of delve more into your ideology. A lot of times when you debate, you do it from the utilitarian perspective. I think it would be fascinating to have either you or Andrew or Rachel kind of do a deep dive on one of these shows on where you're coming from in your ideology, because it's usually not front and center when you're doing debates and things like that. I think that your audience, especially left-wingers like me, could learn a hell of a lot more about your policy prescriptions and your ideology if you were to kind of reverse the roles, do something like that. I think that would be amazing content. That's something I'd love to see.
The thing is, I think it's easier said than done to do that, because a lot of it seems like, especially in the Twitch sphere and the left-wing online debate sphere, the pre-agreed rules, like basically the unspoken agreement that everybody goes by is that we're going to operate within the realm of utilitarian logic and utilitarian morality to some degree or another, and that morals are relative, morals are subjective. And if you try to invoke, the Christian worldview, where it's like these objective absolutes, these deontological ethics, people are like, whoa, you're bogging down the debate, bro. We don't want to talk about that. We want to talk about the outcomes. We want to talk about the relative. We want to talk about each individual's perspective on things. So it seems like we kind of get cast out when we try to do that, and that might be why you don't see it very often. But we do try to inject it when we can. But I do understand what you're saying there, and we try to argue from the Christian worldview as much as humanly possible. Sometimes it just doesn't work, especially if you're trying to internally critique somebody else's worldview. But hey, we appreciate the call in there, Soprano. We're going to move on to the next one, but we appreciate you calling in. Did get a super chat in the meantime from Wicked Wally. Everybody give him Sans all you got. And I agree. You guys need to come out guns blazing. Soprano was a very nice guy, but it's because he's from Sondsol's filthy DGG community, where you're not going to have very much disagreement there. But it was a very lively call in, so I appreciate that. Soprano. Next one we got here is Toasted. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hi, how you doing? By the way, I have a question for Sondsol, if that's okay.
Yeah. What's up, buddy?
Are you related to Owen Benjamin? Because you look a lot like him.
Related to Owen Benjamin? No, I'm not related to Owen Benjamin at all.
Are you a fan of him?
No.
Oh, you don't agree with his takes on religion or on Israel, or
Nope, not. If it's the same guy that I'm thinking of, then I don't think I agree with him on much of anything.
Oh no, because anyways, I have a question for you. It's because based on your other comment beforehand, so you're basically not. You don't want to be around people that don't have the same ideas and views as you, right?
That's not at all what I said. Actually,
well, you want people with the same culture as you, right?
I don't want to be surrounded by people who I think actually hate black people or actually hate fucking gay people, right? I don't want to be surrounded by people who I think that are just like hateful human beings.
Mm-hmm. Well, so how are you different than these people that are Christian and don't want to speak with people? I think Andrew Torba is one of them. I'm not sure. Doesn't want to be around people that don't believe in Jesus, something like that. You sound similar.
I mean, he has the right to do that. I don't know who that guy in particular.
How do you sound different than him, though?
Because mine isn't based off of purely do you believe in the same God as me, right? Mine has number one, mine has a lot more wiggle room, right? Number two, it's not. I don't know who this guy is that you're referring to. So.
Oh no, Andrew Torba. So he's some person that owns Gab.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He's I'm not sure if he's part of the Gripers or not. He gave a lot of money to them.
He's adjacent to them, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure if he's a grifter or not. His Telegram is. I follow him on Telegram. Yeah, but that's what I'm wanting to say. But you sound so. Would you allow Muslims into this country? People from Syria or Afghanistan? Would you allow them into this country?
I mean, allow them into the country versus being friends with them are two very different questions, right?
Well, allow them into the country, allow them to have a voice, have a vote, have a platform on the internet.
Yeah, absolutely, sure.
Even though they want literal Sharia law, and that's baked into Muslim ideology.
Well, I mean, are they going to be able to get Sharia law in the United States?
You got it. If you have enough Muslims, you absolutely will. Yeah.
I mean, in order to get Sharia law, wouldn't you have to literally create a constitutional amendment to rescind some of our previous amendments so that we could implement the sort of things that are in Sharia law?
There's a lot of things. Yeah, no, go ahead, Costa.
Why Sharia law is against the Constitution?
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
What is against the Constitution and Sharia law?
I'm pretty sure stoning people for infidelity is against the Constitution. Is against the law here.
It doesn't say anywhere in the Constitution that infidelity should be legal. No, nowhere in the Constitution.
It says what's the Fourth Amendment? Isn't it the one that says no cruel and unjust or unusual punishments?
Yeah, but we hang people in public. That's up to interpretation. Back in we hang people in public. I mean, that's up to interpretation.
Yeah, it's up to interpretation, but that's not how law works. Immediately oh, well, now we have more Muslims in the country, so we're going to start stoning people. And number one, I don't even think stonings are that common in Muslim majority countries. Number two, the fact that we don't do hangings anymore is because we got better ways to kill people in a more humane manner, so we stopped doing hangings. Right?
Well, we hanged Osama. Didn't we hang what the guy's name? He was part
Saddam
of
Hussein.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't that in. Didn't
Yeah,
that
but it was
happen
by
in
the
Iraq by the Iraqi government?
I think it was orchestrated by America though. Wasn't America like running it sort of? George W. Bush.
I'm pretty sure. Now this happened when I was very young. Okay, I think I was like 9 years old. But like my understanding is, we went in, we fucked Iraq up, we like blew through there because we're fucking America and we can do whatever we want with all of our military technology. We installed like a like interim government who then like found him guilty of crimes against humanity and then like hung him, right?
Well, actually, I have a funny story about this whole infidel. Speaking about this,
I'm sorry, say that last word. About the
I have
what?
a funny infidelity story.
Okay.
So, by the way, it only matters. I think, according to Muslim law, if you're a man and you do infidelity, there's no problem. It's only if it's a woman. But anyways,
Yeah.
the story was this. So, my mother told me this, that she had a friend, I guess, who what's it called again? He did something with a married Muslim lady. So they were going to hang him. So they asked his father, you could bail him out, something like that. And the father said no, because he's disgusting people. I grew up in a very religious household, So the funny thing about the whole infidelity thing. So that's why. So I'm just wondering, but people that are racist, you don't think they're born this way? You don't think, what if he's just racist? You can't control him being racist. You know what I mean?
Do you think that there's like a racist gene?
No, I don't think it's racist, Jim. But some people see racism as the logical example, as logical thing. You know what I mean? People don't want to be authorized. Some people just, that's how
Like
they view life.
They find themselves into those positions.
I mean, they view that. I mean,
Like,
yeah,
I don't know what you think that I'm going to answer here. Like, people have the right to believe whatever they want, but that doesn't mean that I want to like hang out with those people or be friends with them. They have the right to be in this country, and they have the right to like vote and shit like that. And like that's totally fine. They have freedom of speech, but I'm not going to like sit here and say that we should execute those people or anything like that.
right, for sure. But I'm just like wondering, is like, what specifically do you believe? Like, do you believe that? Why don't you want to speak to them? Maybe you could help them become good people. You know what I mean? Like,
Hold on.
that they're...
I just said I don't want to like be like friends with people who I think are like very, very hateful people. That doesn't mean that I won't talk to them. And like I said earlier, to the last guy, there's like this like Groiper guy that I've talked to a whole bunch over the past couple of months.
Well, the Groipers are not right wing. They're not right wing. They're homosexuals.
Okay, like memes aside, like this guy is like pretty far right. He's not like actually a Groiper, but he's someone that like is adjacent. Like he has a lot of the same beliefs, right? Like he is very far right. He really fucking hates Marxists. He really, really fucking hates leftists, right? And I can still talk to him, and I think it's fine to talk to these people. And if you want to like sit there and you want to go through the work of like trying to do like the weird like de-radicalization stuff that people say is like the like base lefty thing to do, then like fucking go for it. I'm just talking about like what I think the average person should do if they want to like have meaningful relationships with people. You probably want to surround yourself with people who have that are like-minded, that like even if you like disagree on some like ways to get to a positive outcome, you still both believe in like getting to that positive outcome.
So wouldn't you want the country to also be the same way? Like,
I think that getting people into like immigration or like people's like ability or the legality of saying something, First Amendment type stuff. Like, I think that that's very different from interpersonal relationships.
No, I think it's similar though. I know it's different, it's for sure, but it's still
in what
similar.
way are they similar?
Well, if we would have, let me give you an example. If we would have a bunch of racist people, if all the neo-Nazis would go to the country, like from Nazi Germany, then they would vote on laws to persecute the Jews, right?
If all of the Nazis came over to the United States and voted to gas the Jews...
No. If many Germans from the United States, let's say half of the Germans would come to the United States from World War II, many of them would vote make anti-Semitic laws, no? They did that in Germany, so why wouldn't they do that here?
I don't think that they voted to make anti-Semitic laws. That's not exactly how it worked.
How do you think Hitler got into power?
Huh?
How do you think Hitler got into power?
There was like a three-way split for power that was like roughly equal on all sides, but the Nazis
exactly. So if 25% would come here, then you would have a good number of Germans that are anti-Semitic and would put in, or fine, which is not like. What's a good example of anti-Semitic group? who's very anti. I don't know.
Well, we don't necessarily even have to say that. Like I think the Muslims are the perfect example because it's everything. It's everything that you know the liberals of today hate. It basically it's all of the bigoted stuff. You know they're anti. Gay.
I understand what you're asking.
I mean, they're also many Muslims are also
but it's important. It's important to use Muslims here because baked into their ideology are all of the things that you hate and that they are going to vote for if you allow them in. So why would you actually? Why would you even want
that's something I disagree with. I understand the question now. So I think that in general, when we see people like immigrate into the United States, the first generation of the people like fresh off the boat people, generally they stick very hardcore with their beliefs, right? The second generation they hold on to some of those beliefs, but like the third or fourth generation in the United States
usually acts worse though.
We should look at crap. Say it again.
Crime statistics show that second generations actually act worse.
Yep, and by third generation, they largely match up with the United, like the average Americans, propensity to commit crime.
Like in Europe, the first generation Muslims were not bad at all. They're pretty good, but second generation, third generation start a whole riot. It's actually. I think
it's like the same reason why like people who like illegally immigrate here from Mexico or from Guatemala, their crime rate, or even illegally or legally from south of the border, like generally these people don't really commit that much crime, especially first and second generation. But by the third generation, they kind of step in line with like the average crime rates of the average natural born citizen of the United States, right? So that's like an example of like them assimilating into our culture and making connections and friends and family within our own country. So it feels like the argument that you're making that like the crime rate increases as generations go on goes more in my favor then, right?
No, because I love this whole Hispanic. It's a common liberal argument. America has a high crime rate, right? So it's a pretty high, in order for all the people...
High relative to who?
To basically every European society. It's higher than Sweden, basically every European country.
It's higher than like Serbia and Italy and shit.
Undoubtedly.
You think that the United States has a higher crime rate than like Serbia and Eastern European countries?
I think it would depend on which part. Like if you single out.
If we single out South Chicago and compare that to the entirety of Serbia, we're probably going to get
if you single out the most liberal areas of America, then you're going to have probably the highest crime rates in the world for sure.
Yeah, because in the most liberal areas of the country, you're going to have higher crime rates because there's going to be more people packed into a very small area, right? Thus, the propensity for people to be able to commit crime.
Then you can look at somewhere like Tokyo, Japan, which is one of the most densely populated cities in the world, and the crime rates pale in comparison. It's not even close.
How about Israel? Israel also has a very
good example. Yeah.
Okay, so there are some countries that have lower crime rates than us and some countries that have higher crime rates than us. And if we look at like the most densely populated areas in our country, there's going to be a higher crime rate. Do you think there's a higher crime rate in Tokyo or like in some like fucking like 500 population fucking town out in the middle of...
I would literally bet that they're similar. Like seriously, I would bet that they're at least...
How much money would you like to bet?
I'm actually not a betting man, so I'm not going to do that.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I fucking thought.
I'm happy to be proven wrong, but I guess it depends on what you mean by
also that's wrong because New York, at least this is what I heard from the crime statistics. I'm not sure if I trust them so much. New York has less crime than like Chicago, at least I think. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm totally wrong at this.
I mean, yeah, I would take your word for that.
And what I see, I think, has a lower crime rate than that's what at least their statistics say. And Chicago is less highly densely than New York. New York is like very, very, very. They
I'm not saying that it's a 1-to-1 correlation, but like think about it logically. If you're in a town of like 1,600 people, do you think you're going to have very many opportunities to break into people's cars or to get into a fight with a rival gang member because you're selling weed on their turf?
I don't see how is this a correlation. I still think they would fight for each other if they.
The correlation is that there's less opportunity to do crime in areas that there are fewer people.
why
Partly because you're more likely to get
have
caught
the
if you
most
break
crime
into
rate?
someone's car where everybody fucking knows each other in the fucking town. Number two, if there's someone that's dealing drugs in a town with 1,600 people, there's probably going to be like one, maybe two people, if
Why is
that.
Why is
All right,
the last
hold on.
guy?
Hang on, I gotta step in. So Toasted, why don't we gotta move on to our next callers? We got a few in the back line. Why don't you give your final thoughts on this and like what your overarching point is? And then we gotta let Sondsol get the last word. Then we gotta move on.
No, my overarching point is I think Sondsol is a hypocrite and he's no worse than the other Christians. You know what I mean? I mean, he's the exact same thing in a certain way. Like these bigot. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude here. You're homosexual, a closeted one. You hate people based on their ideologies, which is a problem with not all Christians, but some Christians. You know what I mean? Like these Christians like that claim to be so better than everybody, and the next thing you know, they're doing all this gay stuff. Like I'll give you an example. Like the gropers who claim to be Christian. Do you know what they have on their Telegram chats?
There's probably a lot of really, really fucked up shit in their Telegram chats. What's up?
They have gay porn and tranny porn and minion porn. You know what I mean? They make gay jokes all the time.
Yeah, the only thing that's actually the minion porn isn't surprising there. Yeah, like I don't hate people necessarily for like their political opinions. I think that there are some political ideologies that are like fairly abhorrent. Like I think Nazis. I think we can all agree like literal like neo-Nazis are probably really, really like fucked up people with like fucked up lives that led them to be part of these groups, right? If you're like actually advocating for the extermination of a group of people, you're probably a fucking.
I know I'm out of time, but they're not. They just want an ethno state. They don't want to gas Jews. I don't know because many times
I didn't say just like white nationalists. I was talking about like neo-Nazis who like support like the Third Reich. Right.
I mean, like
there are some people. There are some people that agree with that. So like, I think that yeah. All I'm saying is like there are some people that have like a really, really fucking hateful ideology, and like I don't know if I would like sit there and like actively hate them and just like stew over it every fucking day. It's not really something that I really care to do. But like something that I do think is that like I probably wouldn't want to hang out with that kind of person, right?
Right.
Okay. We got to move on. Thank you for the call in, Toasted. We appreciate it. We got a few more in the backline. We got to get going. And thank you for engaging here, Sondsol. And I want to remind everybody, send in those super chats if you got questions or if you want to talk shit to Sondsol. You can do it either via YouTube or the Dono chat link, which is pinned at the top of the live chat. We appreciate any support that we get from you guys. Also consider becoming a member. That's the best way to support the channel. We're going to have great members-only perks and content coming out for you guys soon. But our next caller in line is our favorite Lolbert on the Crucible, Casimir. Go ahead.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Excellent. Hello, Sondsol.
How's it going, bud?
Doing great. I wanted to be very friendly because there are so many hostile people, and also because
no, don't do that. Don't be friendly.
Be quiet. Be quiet. because I'm a Lolbert, as Zen Shapiro claimed, I have to do the exact opposite of what the authority wants me to do. So I'm going to be extra nice to you, Sondsol, right? So I want to see if we can find common ground in our understanding of the world and what's going on with it. And so I just want to go slowly, step by step, with some questions and see if we have similar answers to each other. So do we both agree that human life and flourishing has like a general positive moral value?
I would say so, probably, yeah.
Right. So however we define those terms, but do you agree that we should propagate this value we just agreed on into like eternity? So if it's like good right now, it's likely going to be always good.
I don't know if I can necessarily say that. There are some things that like we have evidence for that is good now. Like, for example, like we were talking about trans surgeries earlier. It could be the case that in like 30, 40 years, there is evidence that shows that it actually doesn't help all that much in like people that get these surgeries now in 30 or 40 years. Now that we are getting like a sizable data sample, we can say like, okay.
Yeah, but I can make it simpler. The reason why I made it so vague at the start is because our definition of flourishing, of human flourishing, can change. I believe that it will change very gradually. I think you probably have a similar view, unless like humanity radically changes. But at any given point, when we're doing planning and we're doing like moral planning, which is what we're engaging in right now, right? We're comparing moral plans towards the future. we could generally agree that humans should belong to the future.
I think I understand what you're saying. So sure.
Yeah, because like any of those specific issues you talked about can be like fixed, but humans are going to be the ones to fix it in the future. You know, humans or yeah, okay, good. So we are propagating ourselves into like the foreseeable eternity.
Wait, say that last part again. We're going to see humans
like propagating. We're propagating the humankind into the future. That's like part. That's sort of the foundation of our shared moral values.
I actually think I might disagree. I don't know how strongly I'll defend this. My thinking is, I don't think that like procreating in and of itself, so that there are future generations, is in and of itself a moral good, but treating people and making sure that people who are alive now and like our and planning into the future so that like the next generation or maybe the generation after that, we're thinking for like these people have like higher quality lives, right? Like I don't think that we can like plan for like 15 generations down the line. We're like really caring about that.
For them to have a quality of life, right? They need to, one of the things that's they need to have all of their materials needs met. I think that's beyond dispute, right? But also, you're proposing a system that will, let's say that your system, as you said, says, I need to take care of the next 4 generations, definitely. And what happens later, I don't have a say about anyway, right? But I have to like take care of, let's say, 4 generations ahead. That's reasonable, right?
Yeah, sure.
Because like, that's part of our current planning. Now, in 4 generations, the person who is going to be the 4th generation is also going to plan for 4 generations ahead, right?
We could say that, sure.
So if you believe that your ideology is correct right now, it will likely be correct 4 generations next. And so there is a sort of conceptual eternity there, even though there might be slight changes and like improvements as we discover more about
I think
ourselves.
that like, especially when it comes to like moral claims, these are things that may never be able to be answered, right? What is like happiness, or like what does it mean to like have
what
positive
is flourishing?
Yeah. So like, I think that like the baseline moral foundation things that we have, that we believe in, that we hold, are things that we should probably like pass on to our kids, and
right, but
like hopefully they'll pass them on to their kids. Yeah,
we're having like there's like a gradient between some absolute ultimate best value but we do have a 0 point, right? Which is like in entropy, the 0 point is death.
Yeah,
where no humanity exists. So we can agree that if no humanity exists, we can't have moral values.
Sure.
Because they're subjective, right? At least from
your
ideology.
Like there's no like morality without there being humans, right? To enact
exactly
that.
Spot on, right? And so that means that that there is sort of this idea of humanity has to propagate. It's not like it's like a fundamental value because we just agree that it has to exist in some capacity in the future, right?
Hold on. I don't care if the moral.
It's like, it's not morality itself. It's like a meta moral. You can't have morals without humans. Therefore, there should be humans in the future. So any topic we raise, let's say a policy topic, any topic you can think of, we would have to say the reason why we're doing this is step 1, so there will be humans in the future. That has to be like the foundation. And step 2, so that humans will live according to our preferences, or like according to their preferences, or whatever it is.
So what you're saying is, like, in order to propagate the morality that we are trying to put out into the world now, we have to have humans, and therefore we should all agree that we should be propagating humankind so that we can propagate the morality. Because without there being humans,
well,
we can't propagate the morality.
The baseline, we sort of know that there is a prerequisite from your system. Prerequisite for morality is the propagation of humankind, even if morality changes and adjusts over time. But we can say that if somebody says, for example, like the citizens of Jonestown declare that they're all going to die and they're going to kill their children on that particular day, which is what they did, we can say that they're a death cult, and therefore it doesn't matter what their moral values is. They have removed the foundation for any moral value. Therefore, we can sort of assume that what they're doing is morally wrong. It's like they ended themselves.
No, I think that the reason that we would say that, like the Jonestown death cult, where they like handed out cyanide in the Kool-Aid to everybody, I think the reason that was immoral is because, number one, some of the people didn't want to fucking kill themselves. Number two, the children didn't know that they were being killed, right? Like these were like mass murders. Murder is like the definition of an unjustified killing, right?
So if they didn't have children there, and if everybody agreed, that would be potentially a moral action to just end yourself and like stop having children.
The stopping having children, I don't know why that's being tacked on at the end there, but like I don't know if suicide is
they have to like stop having
immoral.
children and then end themselves at a certain point. So like the children become adults, then they can go away, and then nobody has children. Nobody who's young has children, and then they can all off themselves, which concludes their ideology, and then they're all gone.
Well, what if instead of drinking cyanide, they just stop having children and then they all like die of old age? Would you say that that's equally immoral as killing themselves?
Well, actually, yes, that's my claim. Now, I'm not. Wait, that's very important. We have to be careful with the wording. I'm not saying that it's immoral. I'm saying that it cannot be moral. That's different.
Amoral.
I'll explain the difference. It may be amoral, it may be, but it can never be positive.
Got you.
Why can't it be positive? Well, because positivity implies that there is somebody in the future to hold those values, or doesn't it?
I don't care about propagating a morality for the sake of propagating a morality. The morality.
Well, why do you care about the next three generations then?
Because I care about human beings, right?
Do you care about anyone that doesn't exist right now? Like, do you care about somebody who is unborn?
No, I don't think I do.
No?
I don't.
That's an interesting revelation.
So let's say there's like a really beautiful. Yeah. Let's say that there's a beautiful building, right? That they have the plans for, and this has happened before. Like an architect has plans for a beautiful, beautiful building, and people really want this building to be built. But someone else buys up the plot of land. Do we mourn the loss of that building because it was not built?
I mean, if our moral system was hinged around building those beautiful buildings, then maybe we mourn that. Like maybe we would say that's a legal action to do, but we'll all condemn it and frown upon that person that ruined these perfect
Sure. So
plans.
what you're doing is you're
but
like
I don't want to
that
analogize with buildings because the audience will get confused. You know, we have very simple, straightforward audience. They want things simple and like straight to the point, right in the face like a punch. You know, very energetic. So let's keep it. Let's keep it very simple.
Well, like get to the end question that we're trying to get to.
The end question, yes. Yeah. So let's say we talk about global warming, and you've convinced me that it's humans caused it, and you convinced me I have to tighten the belt. The way you convince me to do it is you say there are unborn children that are affected by me taking a Learjet across the country instead of driving on a train or taking a Zeppelin, right? Like that's how you convince me to not take the Learjet ride and instead use the Zeppelin, which is a lot slower. It's because you're saying, think of the children that are not born yet that are going to be affected by your actions. And so I say, oh, I believe you because we share a moral system where we value the future. And so I have to value, in some moral sense, the unborn humans that are in the future.
Or I could just like argue with you that that there's going to be negative consequences from our actions with global warming in your lifetime. So therefore you might ought to try and fix some of the things that are happening now for yourself later on. Yes.
So it's fine for me to fix global warming right now, but set up a time bomb where we like, and the entire human race stops procreating, and then global warming accelerates right after. If I find such a technological solution that is like a short-term payoff, but long-term absolute destruction of all humankind, or like let's say that I have a solution that solves global warming, but ends human fertility, just nobody can have children. And everybody in humanity agrees with that solution. That would be a moral solution to global warming because there's going to be no more humans. to suffer under the effects.
Okay. Hey, so real quick, I actually want this to continue, but I want to give the other callers a chance. So I don't want you to go anywhere, Casimir. But Sondsol, give your answer to what Kaz asked, and then I want to bring somebody else in. But I want to get, like I said, I want to get back.
Listen, I'm surprised I got stuck on question number 3 out of 8. But I find it exciting.
So there were 8 questions. Okay, so like I guess like
we were going somewhere. We just got stuck.
Yeah. Interesting questions. This is the thing. I think that like if there was a reality where like everybody like chose to become infertile in order to save the world, I think that like if there is the consent of every single human being on the planet for that sort of thing, then yeah, I think that would like be okay. But like number one, like this is a fucking insane like hypothetical because I don't think anybody would.
I don't think that's okay. I think that's horrible. That's like horror.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here,
we can continue later.
Put this on ice for a minute, Kaz. I'm gonna put you in the background. You can come back or you can leave or whatever. But I do want this to continue. I enjoyed this interaction. Yeah, thanks for coming on, Kaz. We'll bring you back, like I said. I know that Jim here said he's on a time crunch. You've got a very interesting background. He says he's an Australian lawyer in the private chat.
Oh, wow.
Go ahead with your question.
Well, don't hold it against me.
No promises, but go ahead.
I was just listening, enjoying, and wrapping up my work. Very, very interesting. I'll keep it simple and stupid. What sort of has always bothered me as a young man, many, many years ago, I started at the extreme left. My heroes were Che Guevara and all the other famous heroes of the T-shirt of the 70s and 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But now I sort of, I'm a middle-aged man, father of 4, even a grandfather. Still practicing law here in Sydney, Australia. I will consider myself right of Attila the Hun. And it's funny how life and reading other literature opens up. Anyway, that's my background. My simple question is to Sondsol. From my perspective, my experience, left has always talked in Enlightenment terms, speaking of equality, egalitarianism, etc., etc. We're not going to go into the history of philosophy like Casimir did. It was very, very, very specific, I think, very good arguer. But I'll keep it, again, simple and stupid. They talk of this, little Johnny in America can become a president. Yeah, he can become a president, man. Anybody can become a president. Yet, the language of the left is totally contradictory. They talk in terms of fascism, racism, sexism, anti-feminism, misogyny, Nazism. In other words, they pigeonhole you, categorize you. In terms of, for example, the hidden elephant in a room, I won't mention the tribe, but I will mention the dichotomy which exists. I'm generalizing, of course. I can't reconcile the ideology of the left and the language. For example, intelligence, IQ. Nobody wants to touch it with a 10-foot pole because you've got to be pigeonholed. And once you're categorized in a certain, you are a Nazi. Nobody talks to a Nazi.
I don't disagree.
So my question to Sondsol, how do you or your ilk reconcile that contradiction in terms, I would say?
So I think I actually largely agree with you. I think that the idea that people are like constantly trying to like pigeonhole people into like very specific ideologies so they can completely toss away anything that they say is something that has actually destroyed our ability to communicate with each other. So like if, for instance, you bring up like race and IQ or race realism or any of those topics, right? A lot of people have no idea how to push back on that sort of thing because nobody ever fucking talks about it, right? Some of my first debates that I ever had online were with race realists. And after my first one, I realized I have to do a lot of fucking reading to see what the fact of the matter is so that I can either change my opinion accordingly or to argue against it.
Are you talking about Mr. Taylor by any chance?
Taylor? I don't know who that is. Sorry.
Sorry.
But so anyways,
Jared Taylor.
I think
Jared
oh,
Taylor,
I know the name, but I can't think of who he is off the top of my head right now.
The fellow American.
Yeah, it's been a very long time since I've argued about race and IQ. Yeah, so I think that in a lot of ways, the left does handicap itself in how they will categorize people so that they can completely disregard their entire opinions. It's happened to me even recently. I got banned off of Twitch because I'm largely like very pro like LGBT, pro trans. I think that they should be treated with respect, et cetera, but I disagreed that there is a trans genocide going on, and because of that I was labeled a fucking fascist, a Nazi, et cetera, and they mass reported me off of the fucking platform, right? So like I know that this happens. I don't, if you're asking me for a solution for it, I don't have one.
I'm not asking you for a solution.
And if you're asking me to reconcile it, then like I don't agree with those people, and I'm not. I wouldn't consider myself in the same ideology as those people, so I couldn't tell you how they reconcile it. The way they reconcile it, I would. My answer for how I think their thought process works is. Our ideology is good, and if you disagree with our ideology, that means that you're bad, and we have to find what flavor of bad you are. There's like slightly bad, so like maybe you're a social democrat, like you believe in like the Norwegian model, right?
Can I interject? Your good or bad ideology commenced with the Russian Revolution in 1917. We're about to approach 2023 very soon. In this 100 years approximately, how many millions has your ideology killed? And how will you...
I'm not a communist.
I'm sorry?
I'm not a socialist. I started the entire stream off by saying that I used to be a socialist, but I've moved off of these positions over time after I've learned more about...
And your position is now, well, you're talking a mantra of a communist to me. I mean, maybe I'm mishearing you, but your thought process and the way you come across to be is a genuine. I'm not going to pigeonhole you, but the mantra and the language you use, the lingo you use, is absolutely a Marxist, Marxist nature.
Can you give me an example of like what terminology I've used that is Marxist?
Well, you talk in terms of messianic, in terms of ideology. What do you consider yourself to be?
I don't subscribe to like
political spectrum.
Yeah, I would probably consider myself like in the like broad Overton window that we see on the internet right now. I'd probably consider myself like center left. If like you would probably consider me like very far left if you're like right of Attila the Hun, right? So like obviously we're gonna have like some major differences. I don't consider myself a socialist.
Let's come across ambiguous, center left, far right. So this is a thing. This is the trick which the left uses.
Wait, you said that you were farther right than Attila the Hun. I'm only using your words.
And this is what I can't stand. They can't talk. They can't talk simple and stupid and honestly. They always change.
Wait, I'm literally only using the words that you described yourself as. I'm not trying to like insult you. You said that you were further right than Attila the Hun.
You just said you're not a communist. Fair enough, but you said you're. I would consider you far left, but you're left of center. What does that mean?
So like a centrist would like. So like socially, I have like a lot of mixed opinions.
So socially, yeah, continue.
So there's like the social axis, the economic axis. If we're talking
socialism, yeah. And what comes after socialism?
Do you think that all things that have like the base word of social equals fucking Marxism?
on the
Are
Marxism.
we not socializing right now because we're talking over the fucking internet, my guy?
All right, go on.
Okay,
go on,
so
go on,
socially,
continue.
right,
I'll
on
leave.
social
I'll get
issues.
it 2 ears and run mouth, and I'll try to restrain myself and listen.
Yeah,
to that
please do. I know that things
Go
are
ahead.
different down there in Australia, okay? So
Oh, here we go. Here it is. Personality down there.
So okay, so
Mate,
like
come
on
get off it.
social
Come on
issues,
and
I would
talk like a
probably
man.
consider myself.
Don't be a fool and stop pulling your tool. Come on.
I'm trying to speak, but you keep on talking over me. I'm trying to. I'll just keep on
Well,
talking.
I'm a
right now,
lawyer
okay?
after
So
all.
yeah,
What's the
you're
money
a
on the
lawyer.
street?
Like
So
yeah.
welcome. As long
Yeah,
as
at this
they're
point, the
interrupting
judge
people's
normally, like the
counsel.
moderator, would step in and tell you to shut the fuck up.
No,
Okay,
that's not the
so,
These are the rules, Sondsol.
okay,
These are
really
the
quick.
rules.
So this is what I would say. Like socially, I have a lot of mixed opinions on a lot of things. I have a lot of disagreements with like BLM. I have a lot of disagreements with like a lot of like the like modern LGBT like talking points. But broadly speaking, I agree
You
with
mean
like
the alphabet people?
yeah, whatever you want to fucking call them for this,
All right,
right?
yeah,
So like I
I'm
would
an old
broadly
fart. You can understand.
So like I would broadly agree with like some of like the baseline things that they say, but some of the things that they say like going out of that baseline are fucking insane, right? Like some people will say like there is a disproportionate like policing of African American communities in the United States. This is just a literal fact of the matter, right? There's like a bunch of different reasons for that, but some people will then go on to say like there are thousands of black men that are being gunned down in the street every year by police, and that's just not fucking true, right? So like I like have some agreements with the left there, but I'm probably closer to the center on like the prescriptions on what we should do, right? Whereas like economically, I am like very, very centrist. I used to be a full-on Marxist socialist, but then I started having conversations about economics. Ironically enough, on the Crucible is one of the conversations that I had that gave me questions that I could not answer as a socialist. So I changed my economic positions. So like the box, if people wanted to pigeonhole me, broadly speaking, I'd probably be put into like a social democrat like box, right? Where like we have large social wealth funds. There's still capitalism. There's welfare for people that need it, not for those who don't need it. You know, there are general liberal freedoms for people to do as they please, as long as it doesn't hurt other people. Like broadly speaking, that's what I would be considered.
Fair enough. Well, what's the ideal country which comes to your ideology? I mean, in existence today, or in the past, for that matter.
Well, I don't know if there's one in the past. I think that like there are a lot of really cool ideas that we see coming out of Sweden, Norway. No, not Venezuela. They're like fucking dog shit with everything. Like Jesus fucking Christ, they fucking destroyed their country when they could have been super. Yeah. They could be so fucking rich. But like Norway, like they did the exact like correct thing. Speaking of Venezuela, right? They did the opposite things. Whereas like Norway did nationalize its oil, and then they like used all the profits from that to put it into a social wealth fund that just like invests a bunch of money all over the world in different stock markets, and all the profits from that social wealth fund go into paying for the the social services that they have, right? For like their trains, their buses, all of the things that are social services in a country, right? And I think that's a really, really fucking good idea, right? There are some things in these countries that I don't agree with. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head, but like all I know is like the economic things. I think that like broadly speaking, the forward planning that the Norwegians have done and the Swedish have done have shown themselves to be like really, really good for the population at large, right? So I think that we should move more towards that. I don't know like everything about these places. I think that they have like some really stupid laws around like housing development, so it's really hard to buy a house over there. So that's obviously really fucking stupid. But like as close to ideal in a world that we live in right now, it would probably be those countries. But there are definitely improvements that could be made.
All right. Hey, thank you for calling in here, Jim. This was
Thank you very
hell
much.
of an interaction that I think I enjoyed and the audience enjoyed as well.
Well, I hope you do.
What I want you to do actually is if you could put your contact information either in the private chat or get it to me or Andrew. We would like to have you on for a full form debate. If you're up for it, you could either take on Sondsol or some other.
Most certainly. By the way, I mean this is my office.
Yeah, we can see that.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Thanks
I'm
for
more
calling
into
in.
philosophy, not only law.
Well, we appreciate
And
you calling,
history.
Jim.
Anyway,
like I said,
yeah, certainly I will. I'm an old. I think I'm a bit old for debating. I do that for a living.
No. You're never.
No.
But
too
anyway,
old.
I'm pleased and I'm happy and I'm thankful for an invite, and I'll see what I can do.
Yeah. We'd be happy to have you back on.
Yeah.
Just send us your info and we'll get in touch.
Thanks
All
very
right,
much.
thanks
Have
for
a
calling.
nice day.
Yeah, you too.
See you.
All right, our next caller. I don't know which one it's gonna be because it's got like 3 of the same person down here. But Black Mask, if you can hear me, can you hear me? Black Mask. Okay, that must be the wrong one. Black Mask, do you hear me? Hello.
Hey.
There you go. Okay.
Hey,
Before you go with your question, we got a super chat from Wicked Wally. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Sondsol just went to kangaroo court. I think we all agree that that's exactly what we just witnessed. Jim was a hell of a caller. The chat really enjoyed that one. And I'm serious, Jim. I see you're still in the background there. Send us your contact info. We want to have you back on for a full-form debate. That was really fun. To those of you that are just joining us, we're doing a Sondsol versus the world. There's going to be just a panel of callers, different topics, different guests that are popping on. We're putting the link in the chat publicly for anybody that wants to come in and wreck Sondsol with facts and logic. You can also send in super chats either via YouTube or the Dono chat link, which I've pinned at the top of the live chat, to ask questions, to insult Sondsol, to give witty dad jokes like Wicked Wally just did. It's strongly encouraged. And thank you for the super chat, Wicked Wally again. Black Mask, go ahead whenever you're ready. Did we lose him again? Black Mask, hello? Black Mask. Here, let me try adding the others. So there's like 3 of them sitting in the background. Hello, Black Mask. Hello. Do you speak?
Hey, is it working? Sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you now, buddy.
There you go.
Okay. Sorry, my connection was just not working. Okay. What do you want to talk about, son?
I don't know. You're the one that's coming in to ask the questions. What do you want to talk about?
Transgender stuff, race and IQ, economics, crime.
Let's stay away from the race and IQ, but if you want to talk about transgender,
we can talk about.
You bring the topic to him, Black Mask. Do
you want to talk about race and IQ, son?
I think that they're trying to avoid that to get so that they don't lose their channel. But we can talk about trans stuff. Yeah.
No, I won't use any slurs or anything. I'm not even a race realist, so we're probably gonna agree.
Well, let's just avoid the topic altogether. Seriously.
I know
I'm not a race realist.
I know this voice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Black Mask, do you have a question or an argument you want to bring?
What's your take on race and IQ?
All right, Black Mask. Thanks for calling in. We're gonna move on to the next one.
I know who that was. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. Black Mask, get out of here. You're not welcome here anymore, bro. You're banned from the studio. Okay. So our next caller in line is White Trash. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Check. Can you guys hear me?
Yep. Go ahead.
What's up, bud?
Check.
Yeah, we
Testing,
can hear you.
1, 2.
Go ahead. Hello, White Trash. Do you speak?
Hear you guys.
No. Okay. Hey, he says he can't hear us.
Uh-oh.
White Trash. I'm gonna drop you back to the background whenever.
Check 1, 2.
Yeah. Do you hear us? Okay.
We can hear you, buddy.
Here, I'm just gonna put it in the private chat. I'll bring him on next.
Sure.
Here. Okay. Our next one is our in-house left-wing debater, who I get along with so great.
Oh, God damn it. I know what we're going to talk about.
Welcome to the show. Go ahead with your questions whenever you're ready. We encourage all the bad faith that we can, so I'm sure you'll fit in.
Just for Sondsol. Just for Sondsol.
Yep.
Yeah, Sondsol, you said you knew what I came here to talk about, but you don't. That's where you're wrong. I'm not gonna waste the veganism topic right now in a debate where other people have things they want to talk about. I just want to talk to you about socialism.
Okay, cool.
You said there was an argument that moved you off it?
Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but there were a couple of questions back when I was a market socialist that they asked me. I don't know what the questions are anymore, but the more I tried to like dig into these questions and find answers for them, the harder it was for me to justify continuing to be a socialist. I found more satisfying answers through looking at economics channels that were talking about modern economic issues. They were just like more satisfying and could be backed up by more data than I could ever find for any kind of socialist takes on the same topic. So
what were some of those questions?
I just said I don't remember like the specific questions, but I do remember. Okay. I think that some of them that were about like market socialism specifically were about like how do we like create new firms. Some of them were I think one of them was how do we do hiring in a market socialist economy, and things like that, you know.
So I think there's easy answers to both of those under market socialism, right? If you want to do, so there are two big models, right? And you can sort of like think of them as like umbrella categories for models. One's going to be a worker cooperative focused model for market socialism, and one will be a social wealth fund focused model for market socialism. You could either have a market where all of the businesses are owned collectively by the people in the same way that they're owned by shareholders. Now they'd be owned by the general population. Or you could have a model, which is probably the one you were going with at the time, which is the one that people like Vosh sort of push for no good reason, which is just everything needs to be a cooperative, full cooperativization. So with the social wealth fund model, the answers to both of those questions end up being really easy, right? The same way that we do for existing private businesses. We just give them investment capital, right? That's going to be how we fund the new businesses. We give them startup capital, and with the same way we do for 501c3s already. And the way we do for the other question, how do we hire them? We wait for somebody to apply, or we put out a notice saying we need new applicants for this job, and then they just apply. It's the exact same way.
Yeah, so if
that solves those issues.
Well, the social wealth fund would help with the hiring, but the investment funds, how do we like decide which, like, does the government decide like who does and doesn't get to start up a business? Like that's something that would be like a really important question to ask, right? How do we
likely
decide?
You'd outsource that to private mutual. You'd outsource that work of finding out where to put the money, where to put the investment capital, to private mutual funds. That's the model that a friend of mine who you talked with recently proposes for the long-term, like 2060 timeline of socialism, right? Is to go with something like using private mutual funds to do the investment, and having all of those under one social wealth fund. They're getting their funding from one social wealth fund.
So what's the difference between that and the current system, where instead of we going to private systems like you're talking about instead of banks?
Well, the big one ends up being that it's collectively owned, right? It's owned by the population as a whole, as opposed to by a small group of elites who have disproportionate wealth. Now, instead of the shareholder interest being the interest of a very small group of people, the shareholder interest is the exact same as the interest of the population at large.
But if it's a private firm, then how do we decide who's running it? Like, is this like part of the government
to call
itself?
It a private firm isn't really accurate. To call it a private firm wouldn't be accurate, because they'd be owned by the social wealth fund, right? All of these smaller firms are owned by that SWF, in the same way that like Apple's currently owned by its shareholders. The SWF would be the owner. I'm talking
specifically about the social wealth fund that you said was a privatized thing.
No. Private mutual funds are where we outsource that work of selecting who gets the startup capital. That social wealth fund is socialized. It's a social wealth fund.
Okay, so the private. So it's basically like some firm that is going to decide on this, and are these elected positions there, or are these like hired positions?
Are these Oh no. So the social wealth fund itself, would be appointed by somebody who's elected. Yeah. The same way that the Federal Reserve is.
Most boring conversation ever. I'm sorry. I would actually prefer.
Zen is coping because it has too many big words in it.
I would prefer
I use words with more than 2 syllables, and Zen's zoning out.
No, Zen. I would actually prefer you to engage Sondsol on veganism, because this is.
You want me to talk to Sondsol? Oh my god!
But
we can't talk about interesting
econ. It's just whether or not like beans and rice is an acceptable like. But
I won't argue that, because it's gonna be even more boring. Zen doesn't know where this is going. Right? The beans and rice debate. But no, Zen. I've got one that I'll throw you a bone. Right? I'll throw you a vegan plant-based bone. So Sondsol, you kind of agree. I think you've characterized them, right, as ironclad arguments for the morals of veganism, right?
Yeah, I think
no
it's really
coping,
hard.
Mr. E in chat.
Yeah, I think
Sorry,
that they.
Sondsol here?
Yeah, I think that the moral and ethical claims made by vegans are like really hard to argue against unless you're willing to make some like really fucking crazy concessions to say like you would like literally like rape a dog because like animal lives like have no value whatsoever. So
if you agree that the moral arguments in favor of it are just kind of like blowouts, right? Then if somebody brings up something like, I can't afford to go vegan, and then somebody responds with something that's like, oh, well, what about like these really cheap like peasant foods? You could go off of those. It makes sense to say, yeah, those aren't very appetizing, right? But if we were to say, those aren't very appetizing, therefore I should be doing this thing, which I think is like morally equal to like raping a dog or beating a dog to death with a shovel or something like that, it starts to seem really strange.
So like
right?
the
really
main complaint that I have is that like I think that like it would be good if more people became vegan because of the arguments that you've made and I've heard other people make. But like if I think that an argument is good and I think that the ethical position is like ironclad, I would want more people to be brought over to that. But like people, like we said earlier, like we had a stream earlier, Sith was in chat. You kind of have to like bring people over there and like whether or not you want to like be mad about the tone policing or not, like that's up to you. But like the reality of it is like you're not going to like sit there and tell people like you eating meat is the equivalent of doing a holocaust to cows and raping dogs and beating chickens to death with shovels like by yourself.
Well, I think if you're
fucking fascist.
Hold on, beating chickens to death with shovels wasn't what I said, right?
Okay, you said dogs, but like are chickens less valuable than dogs, Synth?
Yes, of course, yeah. Well, yeah, that's just obvious, right? Like, of course, that dogs are gonna have a more, they're gonna be more susceptible to pain than a thing without like a prefrontal cortex. Yeah, of course.
So they have a higher moral value. So why do you not like
because they're more impacted by bad experiences. Yeah, of course.
That vegans can eat.
I think that well, because of the fact that even with their lesser moral value, they still have some, right? I think that I'd always say save a human life over saving a dog's life or a pig's life, right? But that doesn't remove the pig or the dog's moral value. It just means they're less valuable than a human, and a chicken's going to be less valuable than either of those.
Well, would an asparagus plant still have moral value then?
No, it would have none. It has no capacity for suffering.
How do you know?
Because there's no mechanism for it. It doesn't have nociceptors or brain.
I thought that there are like things that are released when you like damage or like cut a plant that are pain they like show that there is some kind of like reaction that the plant has.
I think that responding to tissue damage isn't all there is to like the conscious experience of suffering, right?
So it has to be a conscious experience.
Well, if we wouldn't value a computer doing error checking, would we?
Well, I would.
Morally?
No.
Yeah, and you probably would value a dog or a human suffering, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The asparagus is a lot more like the computer than it is like the dog. In fact, the asparagus has weaker arguments in favor of its consciousness than the human.
Do you think that the computer has more or less value than the asparagus?
Does the computer have more or less? I think it has equal to the asparagus. I think they both have no moral value.
The asparagus can actually like affect the planet around us, right? And
that's instrumental, not terminal value is the issue. That's instrumental value, right? We're talking about terminal value. I'm just explaining this.
More value.
Yeah, so the point of the difference between instrumental and terminal value, right, is just going to be that instrumental value means it's a means to an end, right? A computer can be very useful, and that's a reason it can be valuable in that sense. But the suffering of the computer means nothing because there's no suffering there, just like there's no suffering for the asparagus. They both have instrumental value. I would say a computer is more instrumentally valuable. You can do a lot more good with a computer than you can with a single asparagus, right?
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah. That's why you pay more for the computer than an asparagus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the asparagus is going to have virtually no instrumental value and no terminal value because it doesn't have experiences.
Okay, well, I can understand the argument then.
Okay, but
the reason that I asked that, and I'm sure, like, I actually don't know what your answer to this was, would be if we were able to, like, completely, like, chemically synthesize without killing any living being, whether it's plant or animal,
I think
some kind of nutrient paste.
I'm on board with not factory farming, sorry. I'm on board, that's the exact opposite of my I'm on board with lab-grown meat. I think it's great. I think it's a great idea.
Lab-grown meat. I'm talking about, like, synthesizing, like, a nutrient paste, right? Like, that requires, like, no living being ever being killed whatsoever. Would you prefer that morally over a vegan diet?
I don't see why. No.
Okay, I was just curious.
What's the difference?
No,
is it because I guess that sounds to me like a type of a vegan diet. That sounds like a subset of a vegan diet. It's just a really weird one.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, but the point I was making, right, the core of the argument is not computers and asparaguses, right? The argument that I was making is about if it's the case, right, that we understand that the vegan position makes sense, right, then it makes sense to say arguments that are things like, it's kind of expensive to have a really good tasting meal if you're a vegan. I don't think that's necessarily true, right? But if I grant this argument, it's still the case the cheapest possible things you can have a nutrient-rich meal with will still be plant-based. They'll still be vegan.
Factually, you're correct, but the way that you get people to like accept your claims or to like change their behavior is never going to be through I think Micah said it earlier on the stream way better. As a minority, you're not going to be able to shame the majority into a different course of action, right? You're not going to sit there.
The point isn't to shame, Sondsol. It's just to talk about the reasoning. I think if you calm the conversation down and you just think about the reasons,
if we go through your tweet history right now, if we go through your tweet history.
I mean on Twitter. That's how you get attention, right? That's how you get the people that engage with your arguments on Twitter. You get people upset. But in a debate like this, a discussion like this, it's really easy to just calm the tone down for me and just be polite to you, and then talk about the reasons. And like you said, you agree all of the reasons are correct. They're all ironclad, right? These are the arguments that do win people over. They are the effective ones. If you just go down like root logic, very deductive, very dry, it ends up working.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: why do you think that the reaction to you and Bunk, like hardcore, like saying like if you wouldn't rape a dog, then you shouldn't eat meat? What do you think that the average person on Twitter is going to respond? Do you think they're going to positively respond?
They're going to engage with the argument. They're going to have to hear the arguments in favor of the position.
And if you continue to talk about raping dogs, do you think that they're more or less likely?
No, it works so well. It's insanely well how good that works, right? The rape hypotheticals, they're actually terrific for the position. There's nothing better for the vegan position than pointing out those rape hypotheticals, because they just explode out any kind of like you said it yourself. What you remember about the vegan position is to argue against it, you have to bite insane bullets.
Yeah,
if vegans can make you bite insane rape bullets, that works really, really well at convincing people to be a vegan. And when it comes to that argument in particular, you're paying other people to do the work of shoving one hand up a cow's ass to align the uterus and using a small metal hook to go in and plant the sperm, which is disgusting. Yeah, Zen, sorry, that's what you pay for. Zen, just don't pay for it. If you don't like it, if you don't like it, don't pay for it.
No, it's just the emotional shock value that you're looking for.
There's nothing emotional about it.
Okay, shut the fuck up, Synth. You're not like that autistic, okay? Like you're autistic because you're a debate bro, but you're not that autistic. I think that Zen is just
you're just being sensitive about it.
No, I think it's just a tactic that you're using to emotionally shame people into agreing with you.
There's no shame. I just want you to argue.
The same things can be done. No, it's
now I'm the moderator.
No, you're doing it to I use the keyword emotionally shame people, not logically shame them, because I could do the same. I did the same thing to Vegan Gains when I asked him, is a world where people instead of eat cows have sex with cows more preferable? And he said yes. So that was just an emotional shock value tactic that I did to expose that vegans would prefer bestiality over meat eating, and it's absurd.
Did you think you thought that was an absurd argument you made?
About raping cows, but it's also sidestepping our entire worldview, where we don't afford animals.
I love how Zen just said, this is just like the time I use an argument like that, instead of arguing that my position is bad.
It's a joke, though. It's not a serious argument. It's a joke.
Well, I agree that you don't make serious arguments, right? But I want you to contest with mine. Give me some counter arguments.
Yeah, it's that. Okay, well, you're debating Sondsol right now, but I'm just saying that.
No, I'm the moderator now, Zen. Now you got to argue against Zen.
Sonsol's the mod now.
No, that's not how this works. No, but I'm just.
Sonsol's leaning into the mic. That's a very moderator thing to do.
Look, Synth. I'm just pointing out that the argument about the raping the cows or whatnot, you're just using graphic language in order to make emotional appeals without actually making an argument against eating.
Well, the argument is just that you're paying someone else to do the thing that you think is wrong. If you were to do that for the purpose of taste,
I don't think it's wrong.
You think if you were to milk horse semen out because you enjoyed the taste, you think that would be more acceptable?
No. Milking cows is not wrong. No.
What if you milked a horse's dick into a cup and drank the cum because you liked how it tasted?
I don't think that.
Hey guys,
anything wrong about that?
Well, it would
if you like this content, please consider donating. There's a link in the description.
There could be some or no, that would be wrong. But if there's some like nutritious benefit to it, and like you're using it,
you like the taste is all it is.
Something. I don't know.
You don't know if it would be morally wrong or not to jerk a horse off against his will and then drink its cum?
I don't think I don't think
What
you
if the horse
could do
really
that.
likes it though?
So I don't think you could-
whoa.
Listen. I don't think you
Sonsol's
could
going back to his VGT
All right,
roots.
Shut up. I'm trying to answer you. See, look. This is why. Look, it's not palatable to the audience right now. People aren't actually enjoying hearing this. But it's
Sondsol is loving it.
I know Sondsol is, but the chat, like our chat's not actually enjoying this conversation. But
Oh my god,
the
the
point is,
crybaby.
Listen, dude. Listen. I don't think you could drink horse semen just because you like the taste. You would also have to have some sort of sexual fetish underlying that, like motivating you to do that. So I think by that extension, it would be wrong. But if you're just truly doing it because it's like tasteful and nutritious, then it's fine. I just don't believe
You think it's fine?
Listen.
Oh my God.
Can you give me like 2 minutes? I just need to get some more water. And I'll be right back.
Yeah, go ahead, Sondsol.
If somebody were to do that and they told me they were just doing it for the taste and the nutrition, I wouldn't believe them. I'd say that they're lying and that they have some sort of sick underlying fetish that's
But if you knew they were,
do that. But hypothetically, in the vegan hypothetical world, there wouldn't be anything inherently wrong about that. Just like there's nothing inherently wrong about drinking cow milk or goat milk or eating their meat. So, yeah.
So then you, just to be really clear, to make sure that we get a quick yes or no on this specific question, you think if somebody jerks a horse off, they come in a cup and then they drink the cum because they enjoy the taste, as long as that's the right reason, can you give me a yes or no? Can you give me a yes or no? Can you give me a yes or no?
I've already.
I'm just asking for a yes or no.
You're looking for a soundbite. You're not going to get.
This is why. Yeah, no. This is why people say. Yeah, this is why people say. I'm just trying to finish out what I'm saying, really quick, Zen. Right? Really quick, like just like the hand job you give the horse, right? So I'm just trying to say.
All right, bro. All right, thank you for coming on, Synth. We appreciate it, but we're gonna just move on from that one. Our next one up is White Trash, who I don't know if you're here. You said your audio wasn't working initially.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. But Sondsol is out getting, I don't know, he said he's going to the bathroom or something. But we had to move on from that. Synth is just being insufferable and autistic. I think we have an overwhelming agreement in the chat to boot him because he's just, I don't know, bad faith as usual. Anyway, I want to remind everybody you can send in super chats if you got questions or insults for Sondsol. If you want to throw tomatoes at Synth for what just occurred there, we more than welcome that. You can either super chat via YouTube or the Dono chat link, which is pinned at the top of the chat, which we prefer. So if you want to send super chats over on Dono chat, we get less of a cut taken out. So obviously that's what we want. But we appreciate everybody's contributions so far. I think we did just get a super chat that I might have missed through the chaos. Wicked Wally says, "We get it, Synth. You want a nice studly bull." I mean, really though, it does always seem like the vegans want to get extremely graphic with the like the animal sexuality or the animal they want to imply some sort of underlying sexual tone when we talk about milking cows or when we talk about eating the meat or whatever. And I think it is just for like this emotional appeal, this graphic appeal, without actually making a concise or coherent argument. And maybe it does speak to their motivations. I don't know. I don't know what the vegans actually want, but it seems that they always want to talk about the sexual nature of meat eating. But anyway, I had to boot Synth. He was just being insufferable. But we got White Trash here. Go ahead with your question whenever you're ready.
Thanks for having me on, Sondsol. How you doing?
How's it going, buddy?
Hey, I have a few questions for you, and if you could try to answer them in as few words as possible so we can get to the discussion. First question is, did you say earlier that you were a trans rights activist?
I don't know if I would be a trans right activist, but I support broadly trans people's right to, exist and not be, restricted from healthcare that evidence shows is helping them.
Do you believe that we live in an objective reality?
In an objective reality, I can say that, yeah, we all have a reality that we share. Yeah.
Are children capable of consent?
Are children capable of consent? I think that they can consent to some things, but not to others. So, like sexually, they wouldn't be able to consent to any kind of like sexual contact with an adult or with another child or anything like that. But like, could they consent to like having a hamburger? Sure, but like just being able to consent wholesale, like it's going to vary.
Do children have agency?
Agency, yeah.
When does the human brain finish development?
I think like around the age of like 24, 25.
That's my understanding too, about 25.
Yeah.
Where do queer folk come from? How do they reproduce?
How do they reproduce? I mean, they could get artificially inseminated, or they could donate their sperm and have a what?
Well, I guess the question is how do we make more queer people?
How do we make more queer people? I don't know if you can make more queer people.
What is the most effective way to destroy civil society?
Well, I think we can look at the way that things are going right now, where everybody is living in different, everyone's living in different realities, or they see reality in two different ways. So I think that that's like probably the easiest way to destroy civil society, is everybody living in different fucking realities in their mind.
I would agree. I think the most effective way is to divorce people from objective reality.
I don't think that any human in the current age has any way of in like, if you're talking about objective reality, like some truth statement about every single thing in the entire world, I don't think that there's any way that any human has to like find that objective truth.
Well, not objective truth, but objective reality. Like, for example, a man is a man, a woman is a woman, woman is adult human female, et cetera, et cetera.
Right, but these questions right here, like there are reality, like those are tautological statements, right? A man is a man, a woman is a woman, right?
Well, no,
X
more
equals
specifically,
X, Y equals Y.
A woman isn't a feeling or a state of being. It's a part of our shared objective reality.
A woman is a emergent property from our like social interactions with each other.
So going back to my earlier question about where do queer folk come from, how do we make more of them? You started talking about IVF, or essentially the queer phenomenon is it's not an organic development. It's not something that queer people don't make queer babies. They don't make babies, period. So queer
except for
people
like the two examples of how they could reproduce that I gave you earlier.
So your stance is that queer people are born this way, gay people are born gay, trans people are born trans. Is this your position?
I don't think that we have any evidence one way or another, whether it happens in utero at conception, or whether it like we don't have any evidence for souls, so we can't like say that it's like part of their soul. So we don't have any way of knowing one way or the other whether it happens like in utero, sometime like in the first 6 months of your life, in the first 5 years of your life. We don't have like evidence that like concretely like points to why some people are gay, or why some people are straight, or whatever, or why some people are trans, or whatever the fuck, right? But like why someone's trans doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me is what do we do with people who don't identify with the like they have some disconnect between like some mental aspect of what's going on in their head and their body. What do we do with people like that? Do we sit there and do we like put them in gas chambers? Do we fucking sit there and torture them until they like never talk about feeling these feelings again? Or do we offer some kind of or do we try and find some mechanism by which we can help them stop feeling that discomfort from the disconnect?
I don't think that this explosion of queer and trans folk is not a normal development. This is something we really only see in the West. Like, for example, we have like gender clinics. Maybe 15 years ago we had a few of them. mostly on the East Coast, and now we have dozens and dozens of them.
Mostly on the West Coast.
Well, not just on the.
Sorry, I'm making a joke. Go ahead,
but-
continue. Sorry,
yeah,
I'm fucking
yeah.
around.
But since queer folk cannot reproduce naturally, since people aren't, would you agree that the default position for any given newborn is going to be heterosexual?
No, a
In other
newborn
words,
doesn't have a sexual orientation. Do you think that you can fuck kids?
Well, no, I also don't think that we can make what's your position on conversion therapy, like making queer folk back into straight folk?
I don't think that you can like torture someone's like sexual. Do you think that you could be tortured into being gay?
I think you can be raised gay and raised trans.
But you
I
said
think that's what
conversion
we're seeing
therapy.
today.
So do you think that you could be converted into being a gay person?
Yes.
Okay, I don't.
I would agree with that too.
I don't think that that can happen. No.
And I think that's where the explosion of queer and trans, specifically children, are coming from. And if we've already agreed that the human brain stops development at around
Hold
age
on.
25.
What percentage of the population do you think are trans?
Honestly, and are we talking?
I'm talking about like reported like people who are identifying openly as transgender.
Are we breaking this down generationally, like Zoomers versus
You can do it
Boomers?
however you want.
I think the way in which these statistics are gathered, I think it's not a fair assessment. I think that like from 15 or 20 years ago, it was essentially zero. It definitely was zero in mainstream media coverage.
Sure.
But today it's almost illegal to, and like in Canada, for example, it is illegal to not affirm someone's expressed gender identity.
That is not true, but go on.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think people have lost custody of their children, and over this issue, people are being put in
like
prison.
one story of something that happened along those lines, and I think that when you actually like read the full article about what happened, the father was like beating the shit out of the kid and like trying like doing like abjectly like horrible fucking things to that kid. It had nothing to do, like they were doing it because the kid identified in a certain way, but they weren't like it wasn't because they weren't affirming their gender. It's because they were like beating their kid and like abusing their child. So that's why their kid got taken away. You don't get your kid taken away just because they're trans and you don't believe in like trans ideology or whatever.
Well, sure. If you're like, let's say you're going through a divorce, your ex-wife, wants to trans your daughter or your son, and you don't want to do that, then I think that there are many tools at her disposal and at the state's disposal to stop you from having any contact with your child.
Okay. I don't know of any instances of this happening. There might be like one or two, and I would have to see like what were the other like contributing factors to why the husband or like whoever doesn't agree with like the gender ideology, whatever the fuck, like why they lost custody. But I don't know what you're trying to get at here, because they've tried to like separate kids from their family who are like parents who do affirm their kids' identity in Texas, and that didn't work. They've tried to do the opposite in other places, and that hasn't worked. So like this isn't something that's really happening.
So one of the definitions, according to Merriam-Webster, on agency is a person or thing through which power is exerted or an end is achieved. And you stated earlier that you believe that children have agency, and I would agree with that. And I think children are being used as a means to an end. And again, I don't think that the amount of queer questioning, trans presenting children, people that are getting surgeries performed on them, hormone therapies, pushed onto them, I think that this is not something that's coming from children. I think this is something that's coming from their teachers, their parents, other sources of authority beyond themselves.
So I think that you're right. Children are being used, but I think that both sides of this argument are using children as a bludgeon for their own political ends. So like people on the left will say like, oh well, there are trans kids who are killing themselves every single day because they're not getting the healthcare that they need. When like I don't think that that's like really what's like happening out in the world. I don't think that there are like 8-year-olds who are fucking like shooting themselves in the head with a fucking Glock because they don't have fucking hormones at 8 years old. It's just not fucking happening. Now it might happen like later on in their teenage years. I think that trans people do have a higher suicidality rate, like especially like later into their teenage years and in their early 20s and especially into their 30s. But like that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about children, right? I think that like once you get to an age of like you know in your teenage years, you're starting to get to the age of like medical consent that like for decades we've been able to like separate the difference between like children having to have their parents make all the decision for them and like people who are like 15, 16, 17 years old being able to make medical decisions for themselves without the consent of their parents, right? So like if you're talking about just like children being used and being like groomed into being gay, I just don't think that that's possible. I've known people who have had a gay dad who didn't come out until well after the kid was in their 20s, right? And I've known, and that person was not gay. They did not like get raised gay, even though the family was very, very like pro LGBT because the dad was in the closet but still supported gay people. You know, like I've had people who grew up in extremely repressive, like extremely conservative Christian families that ended up being gay, and I don't think that it was their upbringing that made them gay. I don't know what it is that makes someone gay, but I don't think that it's something that is happening to them early. Like I don't think that it's like the socialization around them, right? Like I don't think that you can like groom someone into changing their sexuality at a very young age.
What's the youngest age you think that someone is being medicalized or begins to transition through either surgery or hormone therapy?
Do you consider puberty blockers to be hormone therapy?
Yes.
Okay, then the age is going to go like considerably down. If you consider hormone blockers to be hormone therapy, I don't think that puberty blockers are medically considered HRT, but like that aside, like if we're talking about puberty blockers, I think that goes down as low as like 12 or 11 maybe, because like even with puberty blockers they want you to go through like the first initial stages of puberty, so that like I don't know like all of the like processes for it, but like they want you to go through like some amount of puberty before they put you on the puberty blockers and you get like you know like mega into it. Now the rest of it, like I think that like HRT generally speaking could be prescribed as early as like 15, 16, 17 years old, but I don't know like what the rates are for like each of those ages. I do know that they do prescribe them to minors.
Sorry to cut in.
Yeah,
I've been talking in the back the private chat, and I told people that if they want to get in on a specific topic, then all they have to do is say something. And we've actually got Andrew Wilson in the back line here that wanted to get in on this, so I do want to give him a chance to jump in here. So go ahead whenever you're ready. Are you there?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
I was worried that there was no video. I was scared this was going to be some fake BPF.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah.
Really quick before you cut in, can I just like finish
Finish what you're saying. I did cut you off. Finish what you're saying.
I just want to say like I think that like the earliest that like I've heard of someone like going on HRT, though there might be like some edge cases that it was prescribed earlier, but I think that those are like incredibly rare. I think like the average is like 17 years old, maybe 16, and then like for surgeries, these are like overwhelmingly done after someone has already turned 18 and usually later into their 20s. Okay, Andrew, go ahead. I'm done.
Okay. So first I wanted to say, nice to meet you, White Trash. I enjoyed your line of inquiry there. I thought it was really good. To kind of piggyback off of that, Sondsol, what he was saying, I noticed that you were kind of being a sneaky, underhanded fuck again. And he asked you if you knew what objective reality was, or if there was objective reality, and you were like, yeah, there is. And then later, in his line of inquiry, you were like, well, there might be an objective reality, but we can't know it. So which is there an objective reality that we can't know, or can we know objective reality?
I don't think that like we have the literal technology to know all of objective reality, right? There are some
Well,
things
I
that
didn't
we can
say all of.
Right, but like I think that a lot of the conversations that we're having in like the current like political paradigm that we're talking about, like with trans issues, I don't think that we have some way to like 100% conclusively show that that like trans people don't exist and these people are just like faking it and they're just like being groomed into it and they're lying to themselves about being trans.
So that's what I wanted to piggyback off of. So Sondsol, back in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Do you think that children who were teenagers and below teenagers killed themselves more or less?
And before you answer that, White Trash said he's going to bow out. So thank you for calling in, White Trash. We'll let
it was a nice conversation, buddy.
BF continue this, but thank you for calling in, White Trash. We appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Guys.
Yeah. Do you think they killed themselves more or less?
I would probably assume that they killed themselves less. I think it was much more.
Yeah, they killed themselves less. And do you think that the gender affirming treatment of today, that we did any type of gender affirming treatment at that time?
Nope.
So can you reconcile for me why it is that you think that even though we weren't doing any gender affirming treatment to any of these supposed people with gender dysphoria that must have existed in the same numbers they do now, at least in order for your ideology to be consistent, why weren't they killing themselves, Sondsol?
Because suicide rates don't directly, don't one-to-one correlate with the amount of trans people that there are. There are a lot of different reasons that people kill themselves.
We had a diagnosis for gender dysphoria before it was labeled gender dysphoria. And people inside of that bracket still killed themselves less than they do currently. Why do you think that is?
Well, I don't have like those statistics in front of me. I don't know what the stats.
Yeah, well,
were
I mean,
back
take
then,
a gander.
but
Take a gander of a guess. Why would you think that not only did teenagers used to kill themselves less when they couldn't come out and there was no care available for them, as compared to now when they can come out?
Because
and there's
most
all
of the
kinds
time,
care available
because
for
the
them.
reason that people kill themselves most often when they're trans is because they have no social connections as a result of coming out as trans. We don't have like
Right.
we don't have like
So then the answer is to keep it in the closet, right, Sondsol?
So your answer, I was about to ask a question, but I know what your answer is going to be. It's going to be yes. You think that we should just allow some people to suffer?
Well,
so that you don't have to,
I'm trying to ask you. I'm trying to ask you, Sondsol.
Because your worldview,
You don't want them to hurt themselves, right?
your in your worldview, you would rather have someone live in suffering for their entire life than for them to come out as trans or to
Well,
to
if they
be
were
open about
suffering that bad, you would think that if they were suffering that bad, you'd think they'd kill themselves.
Well, again, if they are completely in the closet, right, and they still have like the positive like social, because like people don't kill themselves solely because they're fucking trans. You fucking retard. Okay, the reason people kill people.
Whoa. What did I say?
I'm so sorry. Is retard against the words? Or is retard against the rules?
You're not allowed to insult people.
No, it's all right.
Okay.
It's all right. It's all right. Go ahead. Go ahead, Sondsol.
People don't kill themselves purely based off of the fact that they are trans. Like the reasons for people committing suicide is incredibly multifaceted, and like you have to look at all of the reasons around why someone who is trans might fucking kill themselves. So
Isn't
for one,
the primary reason why you think that we should affirm trans identity so that they don't kill themselves, Sondsol?
if someone comes out as trans, then they are more likely to lose social connections, especially like if you're in like a completely like conservative area, you could lose all of your friends, you could lose all of your family, and human beings, that's on our like hierarchy of needs, social communication and acceptance from other groups of people, from other people, so that we can have that amount of fulfillment in our life.
Sure, I agree with all of that.
And so I think
you
that
would
like
agree,
if we were
so
to
you
look
would agree
back,
with me.
Hold on really quick. If we were to look back at the 50s and try and understand why fewer people like killed themselves, well, I think that we could probably understand. Number one, there were probably fewer people that were out of the closet. Number two, there's probably a lot of
that's right, Sondsol.
Yeah,
that's
and
right.
because
Sondsol.
those people were not out of the closet, they didn't tell their fucking family, and then therefore
that's
they
right,
didn't lose all of their
they
things.
didn't.
So right,
Yes,
I think
Sondsol, that's correct.
Right, but we've moved
You're
forward as a
absolutely
society.
right about all of this, Sondsol.
So if your only like goal is to keep people from killing themselves, right? Then like that might be one way. way, but I think that we can
What's
like
your
do
number
both.
one?
Hold
Hang
on,
Sondsol.
that's not.
What's
You
your
don't know
number
what
one?
you don't know what my argument.
I'm
I'm not one
asking
of the
you,
fucking
what's the
losers that says that
number
the
one-
only. What's the number one argument? That's not my argument.
No,
Andrew.
what's your number one reason why we should affirm gender identity?
Because people, I think that we should be able to allow people to do with their body what they want.
Well,
If they-
I mean,
if they-
obviously, you don't think that. You don't think people should just be able to do whatever they want with their bodies.
I think that like within reason, if you go to a fucking doctor and they diagnose you with some sort of like psychological like disconnect between your brain and your body, and they then like send you over to like the next like physician that is going to like approve you for HRT or for some sort of fucking surgery. I think that like having the government or having society like step in is a massive overreach, especially if you're trying to do it with the government.
Why do you think it would be a massive overreach if what the result ends up being is that they don't actually kill themselves? They kill themselves at a far lesser rate.
The HRT and the surgeries reduce the suicidality.
Yeah, but you know what reduced the suicidality before there was HRT and before there was gender affirming was what? Was them not coming out and saying anything because their suicidality rate was less.
But I'm going to assume that number one, the amount of people that came out in the 1950s to go to fucking gender clinics so that they could get diagnosed with gender dysphoria and then after that killed themselves is probably going to be an incredibly fucking small number of people than the like broader amount of people that are fucking trans in the world.
Of course it is. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because people didn't know what being trans was, so they just assumed that they were like
aggregate.
Or whatever.
But Sondsol, we still know how many teenagers in that age bracket killed themselves.
I don't think that people in their like teens are on average the like age group.
Those are the ones who are the most at risk
for killing themselves now.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
My understanding is that like the age group that was most at risk for killing themselves were people in their early 20s after they've come out, after they've attempted to do some sort of transition, after they've like told people around them and lost those social connections.
Maybe that is the most high risk. Maybe, I don't know, but I know that the teenage high risk is it. I think that's the highest. If not, it's got to be the second. But what I'm saying to you is, again, if we're looking at the suicidality rates of teenagers in 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s, and then suddenly we see a suicidality rate go sky high, which seems to correlate with all of these people coming out as
correlation does not equal causation. Andrew.
I didn't say it did, which is why we have the numbers which show the difference in the suicidality rates between both
Wait, hold on,
groups.
you fucking retard. You just agreed that correlation does not equal causation. And then you said, but I have numbers that correlate, so therefore I have a causation.
Okay, but Sondsol, all causation is correlation. And so you're just looking for something that is 80 or 90 or 95%. There is no causation.
Say that again. Wait, hold on. Say that again.
There's no causation that you can come up with in empirics that isn't correlatory. None.
Okay.
It's not possible.
So are you saying that correlation does equal causation through like some like weird fucking double speak now?
No, I'm just saying that if the
So you're saying that you have literally no causative evidence that shows that people killed themselves less in the 50s because they didn't come out of the closet.
Sondsol, I'm going to help you with this.
Yeah,
so
sure,
you understand. Correlation is not causation. You and I agree that that's true, right?
Yes.
Okay, so do you agree or disagree that African Americans commit a disproportionate amount of crime in the United States?
Yes.
How do you know that, though? Because that's just a correlate, Sondsol. That's just a correlation, Sondsol. You're just correlating them, Sondsol. How do you know that, Sondsol?
You're like actually literally like the definition of a fucking sub 70 IQ fucking retard. Holy fucking shit. The fact that we can like a correlation no. Shut the fuck up. Okay, Zim, mute yourself. You're actually triggering the fuck out of me by interrupting me here. Okay? So like if you're going to say do black people commit more a disproportionate amount of crime in the United States? The answer to that is going to be yes. How do I know that?
Why?
Because I can look at a statistic. But the but that's not a
That's
correlation.
right.
That's not a correlation.
Yeah, that's a correlation. Yes, it's a correlate.
These are
that's
identical.
That's
these are
the
identical
definition
statements.
of a correlation.
These are a correlation would be like taking the statement black people do a disproportionate amount of crime in the United States and then correlating that with another statement.
Sondsol, in empirics you can't know anything for certain. It's all a correlation. So correlation doesn't equal causation, doesn't mean what you think it means.
A data point is not a correlative thing. You have to correlate.
Yes, it is. Otherwise, how would you compare two things to figure out what the cause was? That's what a correlate is.
When we say, do black people commit a disproportionate amount of crime in the United States? What is the other thing that we're correlating there? That is a single data point.
So,
What is the correlative?
No, you're correlating a bunch of different things. You're correlating race, you're correlating crime, you're correlating type of crime, you're correlating all these types of things.
No, that's not what correlation means.
What does correlation mean, Sondsol?
Okay, correlation is taking two different data points and saying that there is a connection between them.
Yes, like I just said. Gotcha.
Black people is a category.
Black people.
That's right.
High crime. That's the
right. That's the correlate, bro.
The category is no. You're this is the fucking thing that's triggering the fuck out of me. Is that I know that Andrew is like way too fucking smart to be saying this. He knows that what he's saying is fucking retarded. Okay, so like if we're trying to like get data points, right, and we say like, okay, here's this category of people. How much crime do they commit? Those two things are that's not correlative, right? Just saying black people and then crime rate. Those things are not correlatives. These things are these are descriptive facts. This is a singular data point.
Not only are they correlative.
No, they're not correlative. You have to fucking point out what the prescription or the description like you're correlating it with, right?
Sondsol, I want to know this. Why should we affirm somebody's gender pronouns? Like, why ought I do that? Like, in your words.
Why should you do that? Probably because it's fucking polite.
But like, why should I be polite to their pronouns? Like, why should I do that?
Why do you call me he, him? When you say Sondsol, he is debating on the Crucible right now. Why do you do that?
Because you're a man.
Why wouldn't you? Okay, so if it's simply because I'm a man, what if someone walked up to you? They had like titties. They had long hair. They had makeup on. They had wide birthing hips, a nice ass. Would you like? How do you know?
I guess
that,
I should be specific that you're also a male. You're a male.
How do you know that I'm a male? Have you seen my dick?
So this is the thing. Let's use your hypothetical.
Have you seen my dick?
No.
How do you know I'm not trans then?
So listen, Sondsol.
So again, if someone walked up to you with big titties, a big ass,
we would use correlates.
Okay, you're actually like a fucking memer. Okay, shut the fuck up.
I want to grant your hypothetical. There's a person that's like woman presenting, but let's just say we do know that they are biologically a male. Why should I acknowledge their preferred pronouns of she, her, even though it's a male? Like, why ought I do that?
Why ought you?
All right. Anyway, thanks, guys. Thanks for letting me. I'm sorry. I got to roll, but Sondsol, it was nice.
Yeah, it was nice talking to you.
I'm not able to.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not able to, but I do appreciate it, guys. It was nice seeing you again, Sondsol. Of course, thanks for coming on Crucible. Take care.
Yeah,
catch you later.
Thanks for calling in.
It is actually so fucking triggering when he fucking means. Holy fucking shit!
I want to finish that.
Sure.
I don't want to spend too much time on it because we do have a few others in the background.
Yeah.
Why ought I acknowledge the presenting woman's gender pronouns of she, her, even though it's a male? Like, why ought I do that?
Because again, you don't like fucking sit there and you and like check everyone's genitals before you decide to call them he, him, or she, her, or whatever the fuck. Okay, you don't do that for anybody else. But the second that you see that, or like you decide to like clock someone as being trans, whether you're correct or incorrect, suddenly you're like, you're a guy. Like the only reason that you would do that is because you're trying to be because you're being an asshole. I think that it's like number one, I think it's a polite thing to do. Number two, it's probably really I can't really fucking force you. Why ought you do it?
Why
because it's a nice thing to do.
You're not polite. We're not polite. People aren't polite. Most people are fucking assholes. Why should I be polite about this?
Because I think that like in general, like in the same way you don't walk up to every black person and say, "What's up, my N word with a hard R?" Like you don't do that. Why do you not do that?
Well,
they are a black person.
Yeah, well, I think the hard R word is inherently derogatory, whereas I don't. Like we have a disagreement here over what he, him, and she, her means. So I'm just wondering.
Not everybody agrees that the hard R N word is derogatory.
Okay, let's just make this like I want to steelman it so we can be concise and move on. I interpret he, him to be referencing biological males and she, her to be referencing biological females. Let's throw out the exceptions for the sake of argument, and let's say that we've got somebody who is biological.
Sure, I think the reason that you can do it,
but they want to be called she, her. I don't acknowledge that. Why ought I?
Because Because it's polite. If you don't want to be polite, if you just want to be like the fucking asshole in the room that's like sitting there and like being an asshole to someone who's like not doing anything to you, then that's something that you can do, right? Like it's the fucking United States of America. We have fucking freedom of speech. You're not going to get arrested for it. You might get socially ostracized for it because you're being an asshole in a room where nobody else wants you to be an asshole. But like, yeah, it's really just like the polite thing to do. Now on a macro scale, why should we like do that on a macro scale?
Why on a macro scale?
Because like I think that if like in the same vein, if we like went ching chong to every fucking Asian person, it would probably make Asian people feel very unwelcome in spaces.
You sound really racist in this segment. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
like if we did that to every Asian person, they would probably feel very like ostracized from like the communities that we're in, and therefore we wouldn't have any fucking Asian people in these communities. And if we did it on a macro scale in the United States,
to kill themselves?
Well, like, yeah, any kind of any kind of oppression against a group is going to lead to some amount of like higher suicidality.
Right, but that would be the ultimate motivation, is to reduce that if we could, right?
I mean, like, sure, but I think that there are better ways than just like forcing you to fucking call like correctly.
So if somebody's interpreting something like to be, if they're interpreting like some derogatory term that's ostracizing them in society, if it's like slurs against Black people or Asians or whatever, that's ostracizing. And like if more people do those, like slur them, then they become more, they interpret themselves as being oppressed. Whether it's justified or not, I don't care. It's not the point.
Sure.
But then it causes them to then kill themselves at a higher rate, higher suicidality. We can apply that now to the transgender thing, where the trans people are interpreting the non-acknowledgement of pronouns as ostracizing them from society, and then they
it would be an interpretation. It would be a literal, like the only reason that you would do that is to ostracize them, right? To not like make them feel like they're welcome in an area.
Right, and you'd say that would make them more likely to kill themselves if we don't acknowledge their pronouns.
I mean, like, yeah, down the chain, yeah, sure.
Even though the statistics from the past, like 50 years and prior, where nobody was acknowledging pronouns, the suicide rates are lower.
Again, we didn't have number one, most people didn't know what transgender meant. They didn't like, that wasn't even like language that they knew. So here's like an example. Gay people didn't have the word just gay to refer to themselves as, right? The only words that they had were like the F slur or, like fudge packer and shit like that. That was the only term that they had for themselves. They didn't have any positive terms for themselves.
Fudge packers.
That's like it's like pretty archaic at this point.
Finish your point. We'll just move on.
But yeah, like the very fact that we have like terminology to describe these things now is going to like give people the opportunity to like understand an aspect of themselves that they might not have understood, right? So like a lot of people who are trans like talk about the first time they heard of the concept of trans when they were like 15, 20, 25 years old, and then they were like, oh shit, well that makes fucking sense. That's what I am, because like that literally like lines up one to one with everything that I've been experiencing my entire life. And at that point, like then they are able to try and fix that disconnect in their mind, right?
Okay, well, like I said, I don't want to belabor this point. Like we could keep going back and forth for another hour probably, but there's other callers in the back line. We do have a couple of super chats I want to get to. Joseph Newton said back when Synth was on, he sent in $20. Thank you for that. He said, "Kick Synth, great show." I agree. Kicking Synth was the right decision. It looks like the chat overwhelmingly agreed with me for that. So
what was it that he said that actually got him kicked?
It was just the autistic shit. Like I already answered his question, and he wanted to like keep re-asking.
It was still the horse cum thing, huh?
Yeah. I thought I had already answered it pretty exhaustively, but he wanted a soundbite, so I kicked him. Anyway, also he says great show, and I agree. This has been a great show. A lot of people in this audience probably don't agree with you, Sondsol, but you have been a trooper. You've stuck through all these callers that are kind of just ambushing you. So as much as you guys may disagree or dislike Sondsol, you have to appreciate his willingness to duke it out in the arena and put on a show for you guys tonight. So thank you for that, Sondsol. Like genuine thank you. As much as I disagree with your degenerate, pathetic, soy, Coomer ideology.
I thought you were supposed to be impartial.
I'm not impartial tonight. I am.
Okay.
When it's a normal debate, if you're up against somebody else, I'll be impartial. Not tonight, little boy. Not tonight. Okay, I'm joking. We got a super chat from Made by Jim Bob, $5. Thank you for that. He says, Sondsol, If one violates the law of identity of a given role of sex in a given culture, are you surprised that there are social consequences?
If one violates the law of identity of a given role, the law of identity of a given role of sex in a given culture. What is the law of identity?
So I think what
maybe
he would
this is
be
like a
saying-
philosophical term that I don't know, but
I think what he would be saying is that there's a particular identity that a person with a given sex characteristic has. Like the I don't want to misrepresent him, but I guess in my
sure. I guess like
words,
the way that I would respond to this, like based off of what I'm understanding of the question, I guess like if you're going to violate some other social norm, like correctly gendering someone, are you so surprised that there are social consequences for that? Because I feel like the role of different like men and women in society has changed over time, right? Like men have like women have gone into college, they've gotten professional jobs. Men like the way that we present has gotten like progressively different over time, and this has happened throughout all of history. So like if you're going to say that like there's only one law of identity of a role of like sex, if you're talking about like male and female, men do this, women do that, well, then you're already like fucking 50 years behind the times. Like this is always changed now largely, and I would agree with conservatives on this. Like largely speaking, I think that people will trend towards what those traditional roles are, because people I think that women are more like predisposed to be better caretakers, and men, like generally speaking, are more aggressive, more assertive, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think that these things are like purely like 100% like socially driven, right? Like, because that would be a fucking insane. Like, if we had a perfectly gender equal world, we wouldn't see a bunch of like women construction workers out there with jackhammers, right? We'd probably still see more women in pre-Ks, and we would still see more men out with jackhammers doing construction sites, right? But like these things can like morph over time in certain ways, maybe not like perfectly to equality, but yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for that. It was a little bit rambly, and I kind of forgot what you were talking about. Not gonna lie, but thank you for the super chat, Jim Bob. And if you want to call in to clarify that and debate with Sondsol, you're more than welcome to do so. But if not, then we'll leave it at that. So thank you. We got another one from American Nacho, $5. Thank you for that. Drink every time Sandsill says like or has an aneurysm. I'm already wasted. So am I. But it's actually fasting season for Orthodox. So we're not supposed to be drinking alcohol, and I haven't been. So I can't do that. But I guess I'll drink my Diet Mountain Dew.
I'm interested. Like Orthodoxy, fasting season, is that like similar to like Lent for Catholics, or? I don't know anything about Orthodoxy.
They do it a bit differently. They basically, the Roman Catholics just don't eat fish on Fridays during Lenten season, but Orthodox has.
I thought they couldn't do like red meat, and they had to give up something else.
Or no, they only eat fish on Friday. I said that backwards.
Got you.
But then Orthodox, we have much more strict fasting seasons throughout the year. There's like the Nativity fast, the Dormition fast.
Okay, got you.
The Lenten fast, and it's all throughout the year. And then like there's fast days.
Is it like from like sun up to sundown, like Muslims, or?
Yeah, but there's but also like we basically go vegan on fasting days and on fasting cycles. And Seraphim
so
Goose
you are vegan pilled.
Yeah, but it's not for the moral reason. He says there's plenty of wine days, not Wednesday. I think that depends on what your given jurisdiction or what your priest would say. Mine says no. You're not supposed to have alcohol at all, but I'm sure others would disagree. Some say you can have shrimp. So I don't know. Like honestly, I'm not the guy for all the answers.
Yeah, no, I understand. I just don't know much about it. It was interesting.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And then we got one more here from Wicked Wally, $5. Thank you for that. He says, of course, women can't do construction. It's a building, not a birthday cake or a tasty Christmas dinner. Come on, Sondsol. You gotta agree with that.
Hold on. There are some women that could like fucking kill you or me in a fucking boxing ring that have much larger.
No.
Would you like to go into?
I'm joking. I know that there are women fighters.
Okay. Yeah. I was about to say, like, there are some women that have like fucking like basketballs for fucking shoulders.
There
right?
are
like,
some. I think they're very few.
And I would agree. Like it's not something that's going to be very common, like at all. So like I agree with that. Like I think that a lot of lefties will say like some crazy shit. Like in a perfect world, we would see like perfect equity across all, like 50-50 split in every single industry, and that's just fucking insane.
Yeah, I think he's more just speaking on the the aggregate that women don't really do. And I can attest that every time I drive by construction sites, I count the women that are present, and I never have to. I count them on my hands, and I never have ever put up a finger when counting. So,
yeah, it's not.
I don't know, anecdote, but hey.
No, I agree with you. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get to our next caller here, OG Snoop. I know you've been waiting a while, so thank you for your patience. We have at least 2 more in the background, so guys, just hang tight. We're gonna get you in if you stick around. OG, if you're there, go ahead with your questions whenever you're ready.
Howdy, can you hear me?
Yep. Loud and clear.
Sweet. Well, the last topic was rather hot, but to be honest here, I have the most important question tonight.
Oh yeah.
Truly world-changing. Sondsol. Which faction within 40K is the coolest, and why is it the Space Dinos? Prove me wrong.
I'm sorry, the space what now?
The Space Dinos.
Oh, are you talking about like the salamanders?
No, the Tyranids, of course.
Oh,
Space
fuck
Dinos.
you. It's fucking lame as fuck. Okay, since I have been playing Imperial Guard since I was 12, and now I have a full fucking Vostroyan army, so I think that the Vostroyans are the coolest sub-faction within the Imperial Guard. So, like, yeah, I like the, when it comes to, like, any kind of like fantasy universe, I don't like the big fucking hulking like 8-foot super soldiers that can splinter someone's chest with like a single punch, because like it doesn't feel like there's very much drama there. It doesn't feel like there's very, like, the Imperial Guard, they actually have to use their brains and their human their human faculties to work through problems. I think that's really interesting, so that's why I like them.
So you like the NSDAP faction?
I don't think that that's exactly what they are.
I mean, they're rolling around in their tanks and whatnotness, and they got their cool helmets and their cool outfits.
Don't the
Especially
Space
the
Marines have
Vostroyans.
fucking tanks? NSDAP. I'm sorry. Is that the Nazi? Sorry, NSDAP. What is that again?
National Socialist.
Yeah,
Workers Party.
Yeah. They don't. The Vostroyans don't look like Nazis at all.
Yeah, they're Cossacks.
Yeah.
I was just wanted to know what your coolest faction was.
Yeah, no, the Imperial Guard is super fucking cool.
Oh, they are. Okay. Since we're getting Imperial Guard here, what is your which unit in the new codex do you think is like the coolest change?
Fuck me, I have not kept up with like the new codex or like anything like that. I didn't even know there was a new codex coming out. I haven't played in like 2 years, unfortunately. But the new models for a lot of 40K stuff just doesn't have like the same like gritty feeling that they used to back in the old days. Like I remember in the 3rd edition codex for the Imperial Guard, they had like the like prisoners that they conscript into the army, penal legions, right? And like if they missed a leadership test, then like their fucking explosive collars went off, and I thought that was a really cool thing. And I miss that sort of thing. Now it's kind of gotten sanitized.
Come on, OG, you're gonna have to pick it up, man.
Pick it up. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the tomatoes. Hit me with it. Hit me with them, baby.
Okay,
I'm a tomato slut, baby.
So you like the Tyranids? So you like what's after that? Because Tyranids are just like fucking.
Oh my god, they're continuing.
No. I just want to hear this, and then you can kick them.
Throw knives or something. It's not working.
Let him answer this.
I
and
don't
then
want
kick
to
him.
throw knives. I'm here having a cool conversation. Cool dude.
Okay, after Tyranids, what is it?
Oh, my next one would be Necrons. That's the second army.
Jesus Christ, your boy, kick this stupid fuck. All right, Jesus Christ. Only the fucking like he doesn't like the people with personality.
Thank you for the call in, OG. We're done with that. I think the chat's satisfied with that.
Yeah.
Thank you for the call in, though. It was a nice change.
Yeah, I
of
like
pace. Nothing personal. We do like having OG on for the call-ins and for the pop-ons and whatnot. So he's always been a friend of the Crucible, so he's always welcome back. Just not tonight, and not to talk about that nerd shit. Okay, Rob Nor, I know you've been waiting for a while, and I know you said you're on your phone tonight, so the audio.
What is that picture,
Thank
Rob?
you for your patience.
Man, can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yeah. Yep. Go ahead when you're ready.
Here to save self-affirmed incel Sondsol for some more nerdy shit that'll keep him single the rest of his life. You can see I look a little old here. Sonsol's been ducking me for like a year and a half. on this vaccine mandate debate. So unfortunately,
because it's
I've sort of
boring and not like really like part of like the.
Okay, I would just ask Rob, just be careful with TOS, like
Sure.
TOS.
Sure. We will avoid that topic. One thing I will say is, can you kindly remind the audience, Sondsol, what you said you were going to do to yourself if it turned out that the origin of a recent disease that occurred wasn't debunked, that it came from possibly an Asian country? Can you remind everyone?
I said that I would get onto one of those high diving boards and do a quadruple arcing backflip on like ass first onto a bad dragon dildo. But unfortunately for you, it still has not been proven that it came from a Wuhan lab. So,
well, proven is different than not debunked. And it's certainly
I'm pretty sure like the most recent thing that everybody said like proved it came from a fucking COVID lab did not actually I think it like actually said the opposite of what people were thinking it was saying, but it's been like 2 months since I've read it, so
we will talk some other time, but I do want to be careful mentioning that. Of course. I just thought the audience deserved to know sort of self-deprecation that you were willing to go through.
I'm very confident, Rob.
Yeah, I know you're very confident, and unfortunately, you'll be walking strangely because of your confidence and what you've been forced to do to yourself. But neither here nor there. Let's talk a couple issues that I thought would be worth talking about. First off, I also had the old man avatar there because that gym guy rocked it. Like, that's the way to debate. Just fuck you. You're a socialist. I don't give a shit what you say. I don't know why.
I don't know why he got so mad at me for like saying that he was right of Genghis Khan. He literally said like I was just using his own like joking words back at him.
That's great. That guy's rocking it. He goes right to the top of the
based Australian lawyer. Hey, you guys go ahead. I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So we can talk
quick.
Shit on
yeah, now we can start talking about COVID again.
but no. So I did have some questions about the trans issue because. Am I wrong that this is what got you kicked off Twitch? Can you just give us like the Cliff Notes 30-second version why you got kicked off Twitch?
Yeah, people are saying that there is a genocide of trans people ongoing in the United States, or even like oncoming in the United States, and I think that that's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, and I mean, I also had community strikes that came on YouTube. My Discord channel basically had to be self-nuked for running afoul of the trans mafia. So I thought, what better to do tonight than to get those people more pissed off at you. So I thought I would talk a little about this topic. So a couple things that you were talking. I'm not going to do the whole.
Are you steel manning the trans genocide?
No. We're just going to talk. I'm going to get you to talk shit on them.
Okay, gotcha.
At least admit that I'm correct on this. I'm not going to do the whole correlation causation thing.
Okay, you can admit that like Andrew is like being a fucking retard there, right?
Is a little silly, but nonetheless, I see what he's doing. It sounded good. Let me ask you: are trans women women?
Are trans women women? I mean, yeah.
Can you define woman for me?
Oh God, are we doing this whole fucking thing?
I'm not looking for something scientific. Just give me your broad definition. You say trans women are women,
so I think that like the concept of woman is an emergent property that we have in societies that is like the social aspects and like the physical aspects that we see women have, right? So like we'll like correlate a whole bunch of different traits with womanhood, right? Generally being like a more caring individual, like being able to like raise kids, having like the physical traits like titties, ass, softer facial features, et cetera. Generally they're like less weak, have less upper body strength, stuff like that. Like all the things that you would like correlate with what it means to be a woman is like how we define woman.
So what you just named there were social acceptances that we have, or social sort of genuine things that we assume socially that are the roles of women, plus physical characteristics. So let me ask you this. If I sincerely came out to you right now and said, I'm a woman, that would make me a trans woman. Would you agree that I'm a woman, or am I not because I don't have those physical characteristics and social characteristics that you discussed?
I think that for me, when I I don't think that like just self ID itself is enough to like call someone something, right? Like this is like the whole xenogender argument where someone says I identify as vampire gender, and then I have to say that, oh well, here we go, like I'm a third level cleric and I can cast turn undead, right? And so like don't come near me, motherfucker. I think that there are like three major aspects to gender, right? There's like the broader like social expectations, right? Like how you would perceive someone, how you would expect to interact with that person because of how you perceive them, et cetera, et cetera. There's like the more personal aspect of how you are, how you want to be perceived. So like the things that you like, the clothes that you wear, the aesthetics that you wear, the like whether you wear makeup, whether you have you want to like accentuate your breasts or wear dresses or some shit like that. And then there's like an internal aspect that you have like an internal aspect of how you feel that informs the outermore layer, right? Like I'm a guy and therefore like I don't feel like wearing dresses. It doesn't feel right to wear dresses. It feels weird to like show my like fucking like cleavage or like whatever, like I don't have like a cleavage, but like the space in between my nips, you know, like, I don't feel the need to do that for like social acceptance or anything like that. So like that's how I would like gauge whether someone is trans or not. The like internal experience that you have. And
well,
then
no, you're not talking trans. We're talking a definition of woman, and anytime a definition for a term like this,
sorry, maybe I misunderstood
sort
you.
of explanation, a three-part explanation, one might start to think you're bullshitting.
Sure,
So
maybe I misunderstood the question.
Let's go through your definition. So it seemed like you had three parts. The first two parts had to do with one, basically physical characteristics, like, you know, bone density, your muscles, do you have breasts, etc. That might be an indicator. Second would be sort of how you accentuate.
Hold on, let me be ultra clear about that first one, because you said bone density and shit like that. I don't think that we look at people's fucking genetics in order to like say that they're a man or a woman. I haven't scanned your fucking DNA and I haven't seen your dick pics if those have been released. So like I don't know if you're trans or not, but I assume that you're a man because of all the things that you put out into the world, right? You have a beard, you dress like a man.
Again, well then, but again, now you're conflating your own definition, because that was part two, the things that I'm choosing to accentuate, right? Part one seemed to be legitimate physical characteristics.
The things that we would see.
Okay, so like my biceps, whether or not I have breasts, right?
Yes,
Things like that.
yes,
okay.
yeah, not bone density, because I don't have X-ray vision.
Okay, fine. Part two is, am I wearing lipstick? Am I wearing the things, accentuating the things that we normally associate with male and female? That's part two.
Yeah.
And part three is what I believe I am, basically.
Yeah, some genuine like fact of the matter inside of your head that you genuinely feel.
What happens when those contradict?
What happens when those contradict?
Like, for example, didn't you just tell Zen that there are women out there that could beat his ass that have basketball-sized shoulders? Well, that would mean physical characteristics. If they didn't have large breasts, we would say, well, shit, those are the physical characteristics of a man.
Can you conceive of...
Let me finish, please.
Yeah.
And if they choose not to accentuate their breasts and stuff, and instead they're choosing to work out and look like they're a buff dude, but in their head they say, well, I'm a woman, and they have a vagina, you would say, no, you're not a woman because you don't meet the first two characteristics?
No, because like... this is the way that I look at it. I think that like in general, if someone's going to tell me that they're like, you know, like I see them as a man or I see them as a woman, but they're trans and they tell me to refer to them the other way, right? Like not ever, like number one, I can't just like say that they're not trans because they haven't had the opportunity to transition. Right. So let's say like they've come out very, very recently and they haven't undergone any kind of the hormone treatments. They haven't been able to do any of the surgeries. Maybe they're very poor and they don't have the money to like buy the clothes or the makeup or anything like that. But they're like freshly out of the closet. I can't just say that person isn't trans, even though they have the like genuine belief inside their head. Right. So or like,
again, that's not the question. The question is, are they a woman?
Are they a woman?
Right.
Like interpersonally, like I think that it would be like the polite thing to do. Like societally wise, like I don't think that we could like consider that person a woman. Yeah.
See, but this is what I love about you, Sondsol. So
wait, what part of that answer is weaselly? I just said like I'm basically agreeing with you. Like you wouldn't know that person is like a woman because there is nothing that would inform you that they are a woman.
Let me explain. The reason I had to go through this was because I kind of assumed what would happen. Because the truth is that every person that makes arguments that trans women could be women are going to define woman as being some sort of self-definition, which is, you know, so I give you the chance.
No, this is not a self-definition whatsoever.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
So,
what part of the? What part of? Wait, hold on. What part of? Which aspects of womanhood that I put out there? Wait, hold on, Zen. What part of like womanhood that I just said does not line up with what your conception of womanhood is?
This needs to be hashed out. He said, let's say you've got the big brawny woman who's got big shoulders and muscles. Maybe she grows facial hair just because of her genetics, deeper voice, dresses like in jeans and cowboy boots and works on a farm.
They're indistinguishable for what we would consider a man.
In her head, she's like, well, no, I'm a woman.
And not just in her head, biologically, she is a woman.
And biologically,
she reproductive organs.
Yep. Right. That's important too. She's biologically a female, wears and dresses like a man, has big shoulders, strong muscles, works on a farm, does typically masculine things, but self-identity is a woman. What is this? Is this a woman? Is this a man? What is this?
Again, I think that there is okay, when you say like self-identity, what do you mean? Like there's like what they're telling you?
What you're let me
because there's different ways people use that. I'm not trying to like weasel, but there are different ways that people use that word.
If you give me 30 seconds, I'll try to steal me position. I think
before you do that, hang on. We just got our first gifted membership from Wicked Wally, and it went to Mr. Miner. I think it's completely random. It went to Mr. Miner. Thank you so much for that, Wicked Wally. We do now have gifted memberships on the YouTube chat, so you can gift other people memberships. I don't know if they get any perks or not, but it's a way to support the channel even further. So thank you so much, Wicked Wally. I just had to announce that. Continue, Rob. Sorry.
All right. So I'll try to steal me in your position. What you're trying to get out of is the person like me that for the sake of winning some argument, or someone like Destiny says, well, I'm non-binary because it's armor for me. That's what you're trying to get out of. People that would bullshit and are only mocking the idea of trans by claiming it for themselves for some perceived benefit.
Sure, yeah.
So you're saying, look, I hesitate to say that it's just self-identification because if someone like me today says, okay, I'm a woman, but then tomorrow says, no, I'm a man, you don't take that. But then the question, your definition.
The specific reason that I say like gender, like self-ID, I don't like really believe in is because like I could just say like, I'm going to self-ID as a woman from here on out. And I could like do all of the other things, right? But I think that there is like some like fact of the matter inside of your head that is informing you of what you like what you genuinely feel, right? I could lie for the rest of my life and say that I'm a woman.
I hate to interrupt again. We just got 5 more gifted memberships from John Hoffman. Thank you. We appreciate that so much. You guys can all keep sending the gifted memberships. We love the perpetual support. So sorry, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
But again, what you're identifying then isn't saying that self-identification, because we can see with the example that Zen further articulated that you would say, even in that case with your 3 criteria, where the first 2 criteria go the opposite way, and we would say man, but the woman legitimately has the bone density, the sexual organs of a woman, and says, I am a woman, you would say, yeah, I'm not going to call that woman a man, even though she's biologically a woman, because she sincerely believes she's a woman. So the problem you're identifying is a problem of sincerity, but you still believe in the self-identification. You're just saying you think some people could be insincere, and so you would look at the sort of things they're doing. But let me ask you this. Could you sincerely be a biological male that looks someone like me, the handsome, chiseled features that I have, and legitimately, do you think if I exhibited my life as a trans person for years and said that I'm a woman, that I could still choose to present myself like this, but legitimately be a woman? Would you believe that?
So you're saying like you could look exactly like you and like live your life as a trans woman without doing any of the trans. Okay. You like genuinely have like the feeling. This is the reason. It's not like sincerity. I hesitate for it because there are multiple factors that might like prevent someone from being able to transition. Whether it's like financial, right? They literally do not have the money to like acquire hormones. Whether it's socially, like they will be like completely ostracized from every single aspect of their life. They'll lose like their family. They'll lose like all of their friends. Maybe they're like in a very conservative area, or maybe they'll literally be fucking killed. Like if they live in like Saudi Arabia or some shit like that, right? Like I would hesitate to like not like be polite and like say their preferred pronouns in a conversation with them because they don't have the opportunity to do any kind of transition that they want to do.
But that's a careful sleight of hand, because using someone's preferred pronouns could be a manner of politeness. For example, I don't want to lose my channel on Twitch. And I also choose to be polite. So when I debate a trans person, I know if I misgender them, that I will lose my channel. That doesn't mean I think that biologically they're a man or a woman, right? So
Right. I don't think that a
cleverly
trans
shifting.
woman is biologically a woman either.
What's that?
I don't think that a trans woman is a
I
biological
asked you if
woman.
a trans woman is a woman.
They're not like a female with an XX chromosome. They have transitioned.
So then they're not.
They have transitioned socially from being a man to a woman.
So you would agree that they're not a woman.
Okay, we're gonna have to like separate our
biological
terms then, because like
Well,
I'm trying to like
this
have
is
like
what I
a
would
normal
actually
conversation, but now we're
prefer,
gonna go into debate bro mode where we have to define every single term. Male and female is different than man and woman in my mind.
Okay, so then when you say biological woman, do you think there's a biological component to man or woman?
No, I don't think there is a biological component to man or woman, because I have not like studied your fucking biology. You could be a trans man. You could have been born with a fucking vagina for all I know. All right. You have softer features. I don't fucking know. Okay.
Look, we don't got all night, so I'll skip through it. I will assure you, despite what Sondsol is trying to claim, that if we went through each and every one of the examples he was talking about, someone who can't transition, the woman who biologically is a woman but has the features of a man and choose to accentuate the feature, but in every single instance, he would say, if I sincerely believe that they believe they are a man or they are a woman, I would say that there is no biological reality to male or woman, even though he kind of says
there is a biological reality to male and female, but not to man and woman.
Just hang on. I want you to respond, and I want you to actually get the last word on this, because we're getting a little close to the time limit.
See, that's the careful sleight of hand that Rob is doing.
I want you guys to. I actually want you guys to schedule a long form debate on this, because I think you're both great representatives for each side. I would love to see this whole debate take place at some point in the future. But Sondsol, why don't you give your last word for now?
Well, and then Rob, I interrupted Rob to like make a joke. Go ahead, Rob.
Rob, get your point out, and then Sondsol, get your last word.
30-second last word, but I do have one point after this, unrelated, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
sure.
But my last word is this. The problem is, like, I'm not saying male or female. I never use the word male or female. I use the word man or woman. There is biological reality to man and woman. And anytime we say that words or the definitions of words are what people subjectively feel themselves, we take all meaning from that word. And so the problem is that when we allow people to pervert what language is and say the definition of that is if you say you meet that definition, the word no longer has meaning. And we can see with the postmodernists, what they do when they take away meaning from those words is they use it purely as a power game. And so that's what all of this is about. You cannot have a definition that part of the definition is if you feel you are this, then you are this. And Sondsol knows it, and the reason I brought him up was the very attack helicopter arguments that he constantly has. The irony with Sondsol is this. He's constantly arguing against these crazy, I think I'm an attack helicopter, I think I'm a vampire, and he's saying what you're saying is stupid, it's subjective. Every single argument he makes against them is also an argument against trans ideology. He just doesn't realize it yet, but I'll convince him.
Okay, give your last word on this, Sondsol. Rob, please do not respond to it. Just give, and then you can say what you wanted to say after.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sondsol, give your last word. Go ahead.
Okay, when it comes to like the xenogender stuff that Rob is talking about, like the people that are identifying as fucking brick gender and fucking goth gender and stuff like that, the reason that I say that those things are not gender is because they don't fit into the category of gender, right? I don't think that like you could have the human experience of being a fucking brick. It is not within the human conscious to understand what it means to be a brick. Okay, but we like broadly societally understand what it means to be a man or a woman, which is why I don't like put like my entire definition of gender as like what do you feel inside of your head. That's not the entire definition of gender. Gender is a social, like it has so many social aspects to it that you can't fucking ignore. You can't ignore the fact that there are like different aesthetic choices that men and women make. There are different like career choices and roles that men and women make, right? So the idea that you're going to like put it all on biology, right? Is insane to me. And the idea that I would put all of mine as like some sort of just like I say therefore I am is fucking insane. I think that there's a like an interplay between the way that someone feels and the way they want to like put themselves out there to the world, and also the way that the world perceives them. I wouldn't fault someone who like if you like genuinely thought that you were a woman but someone like misgendered you as a man, I wouldn't think that person is being fucking transphobic, right? right? I think that would be fucking retarded. Okay, that would be just like really fucking stupid. But there's the thing: when we have all these different like social aspects, when we have all these social things, I think that like broadly speaking, we use the social aspects of what it means to be a man or a woman to identify who is a man or a woman. We don't walk around like fucking sticking our fingers up every fucking woman's pussy to make sure that it's not like actually like a tucked
Thank you,
dick.
Sondsol, for that. Thank you.
Okay,
Rob, say what you were going to say.
Yeah. Did I hear Sondsol? I do think that one time we were scheduled to have a debate, but you got like a job now, right? And you have a
I'm trying to move into like more of my chosen career more than streaming.
So you got a job, and you're also dating someone too, correct?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to ask real quick before I leave, how does it feel to be the only left-wing streamer with a job and a girlfriend? Like,
it feels real good, Rob. It feels real good that I actually have things going on in my life, and I can talk to real life people in the real fucking world instead of like in these weird fucking echo chambers on Twitter.
Come to the right, baby. That's what we're all about.
I don't think it's ever going to happen, but yeah.
Thank you for the call in, Rob. We appreciate it. You're always welcome back. And like I said, I want to at some point maybe get you guys in a long form debate on that topic. I think there was a lot left to be discussed. And Rob's always been a good friend of the Crucible, so he's always welcome back. Sondsol again has been a trooper tonight. There's a couple things I want to do before we get. We're going to go back to Casimir, who, if you guys remember, had left earlier. I want to let him finish what he was arguing, and then we're going to wrap it up after that. But before we do, we got another member. Mr. White became a new channel member. Thank you for that. We appreciate the perpetual support. Becoming a member is the best way to support us, guys, so we appreciate that. We got a couple people asking, how do you gift a membership? So when Wicked Wally first sent one, I didn't see an option to do it, but when I hit refresh on my tab, or if you're on your phone, like kill the app and then rejoin or something, you should be able to do it through the normal like super chat emblem, or if you go to the main channel page, you should be able to do it there too. It says like gift membership. And then you can, I think in order to be able to take a gifted membership, you have to enable it like manually, like on your profile or something. You have to enable gifted memberships to be received. And we can hash out the details on how to do that more. I don't really know off the top of my head, but we'll get that information to you guys at some point. And then we got another super chat from Tropes for $10. Thank you for that. If I identified as a 65-year-old eligible for retirement, would you politely affirm my identity so that I can receive Social Security? If we allow sexual identity to be morphed, where is the line drawn? Age, race?
Age and race. Yeah. Sorry, I was just trying to fully understand their question. I don't think that like when we're looking at age, this is like this is like measured by time and like the aging of your body, right? And like this is going like the lines that we draw for like when you get Social Security are going to be like they're going to be governmental policy. I do. One of the reasons why I don't like the idea of people just like saying like I identify as a woman, even though they don't like actually believe that in their mind, and why I think we do have to have like more rigid definitions legally for what it means to be trans, is because like there might be like we do have programs to like help like underprivileged people, or like people of different genders, affirmative action programs, or maybe there are other organizations that will like help out a small business that is owned by a woman or some shit like that. And if you could just like say I'm a woman and then like try and like grift money off of these organizations, I think that's kind of scummy. So that's one reason why I think that like legally we should have like more rigid definitions for these things. Philosophically, these are like really difficult like philosophical concepts that we have to get through. So like, no, I don't think that you can just like identify as a different age. Like I can't identify as 65 years old. So
I would engage further on that, and I think there's a lot of room to do that, but we're kind of running up on the end here, so I'm going to leave that be, but thank you for answering. Mr. Miner says, thanks for the gift, Wally. Merry Christmas all. Thank you for the super chat. And yes, thank you, Wally. Thank you, John Hoffman, who sent some gifted subs. And thank you to anybody who wants to do that. It's a great way to support the channel. 2.2 acre, anything but North Dakota Bear sends in $2 and says, Duck. Thank you. I guess we'll take that as a blank super chat, our favorite kind of super chats. Thank you for that. I think that's it for super chats. Let me just make sure. All right, and yeah, we're gonna move back to Casimir, who has been ever so patiently waiting in the background. Thank you for waiting through all the callers. This is gonna be our final call-in and bombardment. So go ahead whenever you're ready.
Oh, thank you. I really enjoyed listening to all the calls, and I hope Sondsol has some excitement still left in him, even though it's quite late. Sondsol, I want to just pause before we resume what we were talking about. You had a conversation with Synth earlier, and I think he's been slightly deceptive towards you. About the any debates you have with vegans on veganism. Have they ever told you to open up any SEP articles, the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy?
Oh, I've never like engaged in debates about veganism myself. Like I've never had to like study it myself or anything like that. It's all been like philosophical debates that I've watched other people have.
I highly recommend to you there is an entry on the SCP on species, and I think it's like the most crucial entry in that entire thing, because species are like, we know them as biological things, right? Like animals, cats, dogs, but species philosophically, there's a broader meaning, which is anything that we can point to that's not, if I'm being precise, I'm not sure if I'm right on this, but maybe not a natural kind. So like a natural kind would be like, I think the best example is a chemistry equation. Like H2O is something that is very precisely defined. There's just so many types of molecules and atoms. But I'm not so sure about that though as well. But like more complex things like us, like paintings, like anything around us that's composed of many different parts, those definitions are species-like. They have to have a system of how you identify them, how you choose what is what. You know, how you choose what's a chair, how you choose what's a folding chair.
Yeah.
You know, that has to be like in all of these concepts. You should read that entry, particularly and then choose one of the systems presented. So I don't think you should reinvent the wheel. That's sort of like what amateurs do, or maybe geniuses, right? I'm not a genius. I don't think you're a genius. So we should sort of build on the arguments of others.
Yeah. Well, like if you have like any articles, you're more than welcome to send them my way. Like I
I'll
don't
send
have
it
like
for sure.
Yeah, I don't have like a deep investment in like vegan arguments or anything like that. I think
but you should this article will tell you how to deal with name the trait in a better way than most people do.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and be based, Sondsol, and say eating meat is for chads. Eating meat is moral. Eating meat is cool. Eating meat is healthy. Eating meat tastes good. All kinds of reasons.
Meat does taste good. That's one of the reasons why like I rail against synth's arguments so much, because like, yeah, people aren't going to give up meat just because like someone told them that they're like essentially raping dogs or whatever the fuck, right?
Listen, we keep raising better, more and more efficient types of chickens that literally like die if we don't harvest them. Well, like within a week of that.
One of the like more compelling arguments I heard just earlier today. I started he doesn't like it if I call him a podcast, but I have a friend that lives here in Houston that we do a podcast together, and he said that like one of the major ethical arguments for veganism is like these mass farming operations that we have is like the perfect breeding ground for zoonotic diseases, and like every single like plague, every single pandemic in human history has been a disease that hops from, generally speaking, cattle or some other animal that we're raising for consumption into humans, right? Like that's what happened with smallpox that came from cows and cattle, right? And that fucking killed like, tons and tons of people. Same thing happened with the bubonic plague, MERS, SARS, COVID, all of these different viruses all
part of life, all part of natural life.
Well,
I don't want to get bogged down. If you want to continue on it, you can, Kaz. We've got 7 minutes left on the clock. So if you want to keep going,
we can talk about what you want to come in and
quicker
mention.
then.
Yeah.
And also on economics, I know that you want to like re-engage maybe with synth on socialism. check out Ludwig von Mises, engage with human action a little bit, get the most extreme on the capitalist side before you try to compare it to the socialists. That'll give you at least some ammunition or some interesting questions, even though it's a hard read, I admit that. But listen, early on, if we roll back, like even right now, you're talking about like general good, about how disease is being bad. But I think earlier we sort of concluded that we got stuck on this point where I can't even talk about morals to you, like anything specific, because we get stuck on this point that if I ask Zen Shapiro right now whether he believes that humans should like continue and propagate, then he will have some kind of an answer. Maybe there will be like some point of where humans ascend into Christ's kingdom, but that will still mean their propagation. They will continue existing there. So I don't think there's a lot of philosophies on this planet that just approve of the ending of humanity as a possibility, as like a moral, potentially positive value. I think that's a danger with your position, don't you think?
My position isn't like to end humanity's existence, right? Like I think it would be cool.
It would be fine if it ended, right?
Fine. Like I think I would personally prefer it to continue, but like I don't think that like if people just like naturally started like having fewer and fewer children, right, to where we didn't meet
naturally, or why should we not like convince them to have fewer and fewer children?
If you want to convince them, if they choose whatever they choose, is what I think.
Or whatever they choose. Tell me, do they choose in all the recent TV shows that we have to display pregnancy as extremely painful and fatal to women? Where like a show has 5 pregnancies and 3 of them end with the mother dying, and the 2 that don't end with the mother dying aren't shown at all? Do you think that's like just a coincidence that might affect women?
Is labor not super painful? Is pregnancy not something that like is like extremely uncomfortable for like the duration of the pregnancy?
But a lot of things are uncomfortable. But if you advertise things and you advertise only like the bad side, and you advertise only sort of the extreme tragic versions of it where everything goes wrong.
I understand what you're saying. Sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off, but we have so short time. I think like the reason for that is because like it's more dramatic for the show, right? Like me and my girlfriend, she really likes Grey's Anatomy. We watched like all of the seasons of that, and like they do show like all of the positive sides of pregnancy, but like the things that do get more airtime are the ones that are like these very dramatic, like like crazy medical anomalies, right? But the reason that they do that is because it like shows it's
that's a medical show. But tell me.
Yeah,
could they not find like drama in Game of Thrones, where in Game of Thrones the pregnancies have to be like highly traumatic as well?
It was in the fucking medieval ages. Those are going to be traumatic fucking births.
No, most births, even in those medieval ages, people couldn't survive like the first year of childhood for various reasons. That did exist, but births in humans are like there's like a normal process that occurs, and that's how humans managed to propagate this because
but like
they evolved
infant
to
mortality.
do it.
Yeah, the infant mortality back then was like significantly higher. Not only
in the first year, not during birth.
No, even during birth, because like there's a million complications that we're able to like overcome now that we weren't able to overcome back then. Like if the child came out feet first
why is that
instead
an
of
argument? But you do understand that we have current society, and if you advertise something, it will have like it will change people's attitudes towards it. That's why we have advertising.
Yeah, I don't disagree that like, but I don't think this is like an intentional thing or anything like that. I think that like just like through the natural like process of like trying to find like dramatic things to happen on a TV show.
Do you notice in academia the rise of antinatalism, where when you look in society right now, all of Western, actually all societies that are technologically progressive, result in specifically the atheist part, like your type of people, just disappearing and because the rate of procreation is like really low. The only ones that survive in such societies with like and propagate and increase in size are like Orthodox Christians, Orthodox Jews.
Yeah, I
and
think
Mormons.
that the reason for this is like I think that there have even been studies on this, and I think that the reason for like more industrialized nations, it's not because like they're like atheists or some shit like that. It's more because like as a as a society becomes more prosperous and people have more money at their disposal and they have more opportunities to do.
Are you
fun
telling me
shit.
that Orthodox Christians don't have money, or Mormons don't have money,
No,
or
no, no.
Orthodox Jews
I'm talking,
don't have money?
I'm talking about like on average throughout an entire society. Right?
Yeah, that throughout the entire system they have more money than Gentiles. And Christian Orthodox have generally more money than certain groups as well.
I don't know about Orthodox like the general.
You
like,
know, these are people that are well off, and yet even if you just isolate their well off populations, like the people who are wealthy in those groups, they have more children than wealthy atheists. And I'll tell you why: because they have advertisement for it. Because the book says procreate. Because the rabbi says procreate. Because the priest says procreate.
I don't know.
Because
I don't think that people make
tell him,
decisions like that in
children.
an industrialized society. I think in an industrialized society, people like one of the reasons that we have like a lower birth rate is because people plan out these pregnancies like further in advance.
Yes, that's a negative factor. But you understand there could be a positive factor. Like Zen Shapiro lives in an industrial society, but he has children, right?
Yes, but
and Andrew has children,
why is it
right?
a negative?
He's
why
like
is it a negative quality?
Society.
Why is it a negative quality for you to plan out a pregnancy so you can make sure that you're like?
It's not
like
negative.
Hold on, can we please have like 10 more minutes? Because it's super interesting.
Wait. Kaz, make your last point, Sondsol.
We can't do like 10 more minutes.
I agree with you. It's interesting. So let's find time for it.
Finish it out. We can go.
We can well, just 10 more minutes. I don't want to keep Zen all night, but I just think that like the idea like people like planning out pregnancies, making sure that they have like enough savings built up so that they have like some cushion room so that the kid doesn't like if the kid like comes out with like some genetic deformity or some sort of like mental thing that they have the ability to like pay for that so that the kid might have a fund for college later on in life. Like these sorts of things are the reasons why people plan it out. Yeah.
But we're doing all of this, but the rabbi and the priest tells us that you ought to have 3 children because procreating is good. It's like a moral good. And because it's advertised within these communities, they actually defy the odds that are created within your society.
Sure, there might be like certain religions or like subsects of religions that do preach that. I grew up in a very religious family. My dad was a pastor, right? He had I was in church like twice a week for the first like 12, 15 years of my life. And like I don't remember in any of the sermons, either him or like the other like dozen preachers that I've had to listen to their sermons ever like talked about like the moral good of procreating, even though some of these places like that we visited were like very fundamentalist, right?
It's because they're not real churches.
Oh, okay, yeah, whatever. But like these,
you were also very young, but like right now, and again, your experience is my experience is also similar. Listen, I believe that if I criticize my parents in any way, I'll say that they didn't push me enough into having children younger. Like they didn't tell me that it's going to be like an issue in my life. So I can sympathize with you, but I'm not going to use my personal example or your personal example as like a generalization for society. In fact, I'll say if I made mistakes in my life, or if I had some hardships, learn from them and like overcome them earlier. And I would like my high score in life would be based on how many grandkids are at my deathbed. That's going to be one of these.
Sure, and that's something that you value, but I don't think that everybody values. Like,
why don't you value that? Why don't you think society should value that?
I think that like should society value having kids?
At least enough kids to maintain a steady rate.
I feel like
imagine this. There is a group of hard-working people in Guatemala right now. And they want to economic prosperity, and they're going to take everything that they own, and they're going to go to the United States and try to become like workers here. Which you like immigration, you invite them to come, and they'll come and they'll work in like some kitchen in the city, and they'll work very hard, and maybe they'll get somehow naturalized, become citizens, and they'll send their children to college, and in college. The professors will not teach them that procreation is good. Will teach them like some kind of a moral nihilism, and then they will not procreate. And that's generation, that entire history of Guatemalans will disappear in the United States. Don't you think that's cruel to do that to them?
It's not cruel if they didn't choose to have children.
Yes, but you have a society that advertises not having children. Advertises it. And there are results that if people don't have like an extremely orthodox,
are you telling me that like religion, if I were to like turn on like
Reform Jews are like almost below atheist rate. Or like conservative Jews like Ben Shapiro, they're like barely breaking even, and only the most orthodox that are literally
right. But you're coming from a perspective where like
actually propagating.
Yeah, you're coming from a perspective where like having children in and of itself is a moral good, whereas like
it's like a baseline for moral good, because morality can't exist if you don't continue.
Right, but like the propagation of morality in and of itself isn't a like the reason why I think that we have moral positions.
Well, they're meaningless then. They're like meaningless if there's no substrate.
No, it's not. It's not meaningless because what we're doing is we're like setting out rules for society. Exactly. We're setting out rules for society so that we know how to interact with each other in certain ways, right? Like, so for example, like my moral system, here's my thing. Like, if we have a society, right, and like we have like a social contract between two people, right? This is like a moral and a philosophical thing, right? I don't think that you should just be able to walk up to someone's house and like take all their shit, right? If someone breaks into my house, I should have the right to shoot that motherfucker because I don't know what he's going to do to me. I don't know what he's going to do to my property, right? And I don't want to have to be able to. I don't want to have to like replace all that shit, right? That's just. I think that would be like a really immoral society that doesn't allow you to do that.
Is great, and we agree on that. But it's irrelevant if there's no little Sondsol at the end of the day, and if he doesn't have like all of those.
No, it's very relevant to me because of the moral foundations that I have, because of the social contract that we derive from these moral foundations. Like, I get to keep my shit because the motherfucker breaks in and I fucking blast him away.
I understand about your shit, but let's ask a simple question. Imagine that there's like Casimir, as smart as I am right now, I'm like 19 years old. I'm back to my prime age to like find and create a family, right? And I have this ideology, or actually even better. We have an active example here, Zen Shapiro. So Zen Shapiro, there's a society of Zen Shapiros. There's like 1 million of them, and there's 1 million of Sondsols.
Let's go. Oh, that sounds awesome.
Then there's 1 million Sondsols. That's even better, right? 1 million Sondsols and 1 million Ben Shapiros. What you're saying is within like 5 generations, there's going to be only Zen Shapiros on the entire planet and 0 Sondsols.
Not if we keep on importing those fucking Mexicans. You know what I'm saying, brother?
What? Not unless you convert our children, Sondsol?
No, it's not. I don't have to convert shit. I just have to, import more fucking people from south of the border. All right, but
you're importing them into a genetic grinder.
Bro. It's like that's a finite supply, though, Sondsol. That's a finite supply.
It's not a pure grinder. It's a genetic grinder. You're importing them knowing that the ideology that your media and your society and your academia.
Okay, I disagree that like
is a society of decline.
I disagree that like the entirety of society is advertising against children. If I look at if I turn on cable television and I look at any of them, hold on really quick. If I turn on cable television, I watch all the advertisements. How many of those advertisements am I going to see with like all of like these families like running around and, oh look, we have paper towels and I get to clean up my children's messes, and look how cute they are being like, making these messes. Like, isn't having a family like great?
Huh? That's anti-human. Exactly. Yeah, that's anti-human.
To advertise like happy families?
Wait, Sondsol,
no, to advertise on happy families.
Real quick.
They were happy.
Wait, real quick. When you said you would import a bunch of people from the south of the border, you understand?
I was making a joke.
Countries. Well, I know, but like that's your only legitimate solution when we're talking about like the declining birth rate in America. But all of those countries that you would import from have declining birth rates as well. You understand that, right?
Okay.
So then your solution is temporary. You're taking from a finite supply that's also going to run
This is
out
what I think is going to happen. I think that at a certain point, we're going to reach some level of like, there's going to be people that do want to have kids, and then there are people that are not going to want to have kids. We don't have to have we don't have to stay at replacement rate in order to like survive as the human race, right? Like we can automate a fucking million jobs away. We can automate, we can like have like a fucking Star Trek utopia where like, if you want to have kids, you can have kids. If you don't want to have kids, you don't have kids. And it doesn't really disrupt society whatsoever, right?
I
don't think we're at that point. Am I a utopian?
Yes. Are you living in a pipe dream?
I think that we should strive towards utopia, but I don't know if
we can strive towards utopia.
I don't know if we can ever. I don't know if we can ever achieve it.
Imagine that we're like in a crisis situation. We're like in a ship and we're running out of fresh water. and there's like a port that we can go to, and that port is called Orthodox religion, and that port save us from death. But you're saying, listen, guys, in the future, we're going to have replicators on our ship, right? And instead of sails, we're going to have fusion engines. And so we should just keep sailing forward on our doomed journey, even though we know we're all going to die, because we're going to have a bright future ahead of Star Trek. Like, do you understand that's actually insane?
How is that even like that's not at all what I said. I said that in the future, we're probably going to have... Yeah, I know, we have a very short amount of time.
Guys, yeah, we are running up on that time limit.
Yeah.
Casimir, I'm trying to. No, I'm actually not going to be impartial. I think this is like one of the most based Casimir segments that I've ever seen and that the audience has ever seen. I do want to give Sondsol the chance to get the last word here since he's the guest. Thank you so much for the call in, Kaz. I actually, like I've been saying it a lot, I want to see a long form debate on this too. Sondsol versus Rob on the gender question, and Sondsol versus Casimir on the birth rate / immigration question, something along those lines. I think we need to set up this debate because it's like you guys are. Sure, this is a very like passionate topic.
Would be interesting.
Sondsol, give your last word though. I just want to be fair since he's the guest. Thank you for calling in, Kaz. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Ultimately, like all I'm trying to say is like I don't think that it's like bad to have kids, and I don't think that like I think that like people having the option to do one thing or another is fine. If you want to move society in a way that like there are more kids, that's totally fine with me. I don't give a fuck, right? But like the idea that like it is like a moral wrong to not have children is such a weird position to take, right? Because if that was the case, then you should be advocating for people to like be popping out like multiple children per year, right? Like you can pop out a kid and then like get halfway through the year and have half of a fucking baby, right? But I don't think that that's like a moral good to just like have like basically women be brood mares that are just like constantly being inseminated constantly with fucking children because the very act of having a child is moral. I think that the thing that is moral is to like have kids if you want them, and to treat those children in a compassionate manner, and to teach them how to live their lives in a good way, and to make sure that those children have a good quality of life, to instill in them the morals that you believe in so that they are like decent people. But like just like the idea of just like having children in and of itself is in and of itself a moral good is a very strange thing to me.
Okay, well, thank you for that, and thank you for sticking through it for all this. Again, I want to emphasize, as much as you guys may disagree, dislike Sondsol, disagree with his positions, his arguments, doesn't really matter when he can sit through for over 3 hours and just take on random opponents on random topics, doesn't know what's coming. You have to appreciate that. You have to tip your hat to him. So let's get some ones in the chat for Sondsol. You got to appreciate him being here, and I appreciate you being here. You helped this run smoother than I actually thought it would, and a lot of people were chomping at the bit to take you on.
Yeah, and as my final thing, like I want to do more debates. I accept call-ins anytime. So if there's something that you like vehemently disagree with something that I said here, you're always welcome to like come into my chat right now. Because again, like I kind of sit in between a lot of positions with the left and the right. So I got banned off of Twitch because of that. And so I'm building up my YouTube audience. We're releasing more videos. So if you want to come through and you want to debate stuff with me, then my Discord is almost always open. I'm going to stream for probably another hour after this. So if you want to come through, then
yeah. Why don't you shout yourself out?
Yeah,
tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm on every platform, Sondsol, SONDSOL. I also made an Instagram. I haven't used it yet, but people say that Instagram is really fun. So I made one of those if you want to follow that.
Yeah, I did link his YouTube and Twitter in the description, I believe. Yeah, your YouTube and Twitter is in the description. If there's anything else you want to add, just let me know and I'll get it in there.
Yes, those are like the two main platforms I'm on right now.
Yeah, we did get one more super chat here. Once again, ladies, don't listen to Sondsol. The bullshit will never catch on. Get back to the laundry and pumping out babies. I can't say I disagree. I mean.
See, you just want the women to do the laundry because you're too lazy to learn how to fucking put the right amount of soap in yourself.
You got it. Men are not cut out for that kind of job, Sondsol. So that's just how it works, bro.
Yeah, men literally can't put soap into a cup and dump it into the washing machine.
Yeah, we also can't fold the laundry. We can't. I mean, there's all kinds of things we'll fuck up.
Yeah, men are literally too fucking retarded to do anything like that. Instead, we just eat meat constantly. You know, that's what I've learned from this stream. Anyways, thanks for having me, buddy.
Yeah. Hey guys, go sub to Sondsol, go follow him, go watch his content. Even though he's always just being a degenerate, playing video games, doing all that bullshit. We do love having Sondsol around to beat up on and have him on for debates. He's a good interlocutor. He's generally good faith, and he's always willing to engage. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the memberships, the gifted memberships. We love all the continued support we get here at the Crucible. We love our audience, and we're going to keep doing this. So if anybody who's watching is willing to do a versus the world segment, we're gonna keep this going. And if you're willing to duke it out with randoms, then we're welcome. We're more than willing to platform you. Thanks again, Sondsol, for coming on. All that being said, we are out. Everyone have a wonderful night.
Fun stuff. All right, I'll go ahead and jump out of that.